just a ride. Whoa, oh, it's just a ride.
I lived in there. I found all the furniture in the living room turned upside down. All my pictures were upside down too, and so was my wife.
What?
That's when I realized that it was actually me being held upside down by a ghost who was looking right at my ass and going, wow, nice ass for some old man. And then about 50 other ghosts floated up out of the floor and said, God damn, old man, that behind is a ghost's greatest joy. The ghost that was holding me brought its mouth to my ear and whispered, jealous, as he just had a swirly little ghost tail. No anus at all. I still get chills just thinking about it.
What?
I felt like that was a great little ghost story, a great little soundbite to open our Halloween,
great way to
our unofficial Halloween Just a Ride episode.
I want to spend just 10 minutes in your brain to figure out how the hell that even became existence in your life.
Like, what's your algorithm? My goodness, that's awesome.
I don't know how many people you might be able to survive 10 minutes in my brain.
It's a scary place.
What is this, boys? Episode 18?
18.
We're legal now.
We're old in America. We're legal.
Yeah.
So we can do a lot of things.
Yeah.
I don't think you can smoke.
I guess it
anymore at
depends
18.
on the thing in the state. Can you not smoke at 18 anymore?
I don't think so. I think they made it 21 now.
But you can get drafted still, right?
Maybe it's 19. I don't know.
Can you get drafted in the military?
Shit, they'll take you when you're 13.
The government, but no.
Yeah.
Yeah. At 18.
18, yeah, you can. I mean,
but not in the country. I think you have to be 21 now to carry a gun.
Do you?
I don't know. Dude, they changed it so much that, honestly, I didn't know. I'm like...
what happened? Did they just look at America and they're like, oh, you guys...
Are you supposed to have a gun? Are you a felon or not? Okay. That's all I really care about.
Well, I wonder if they're like...
did you guys... With it?
Why did they add 3 years? I mean, in Canada, they're like 19 for everything. You get to do everything at 19. And
well, in British Columbia... In Alberta, it's different. In Alberta, it was 18. You could drink. So we would go over there.
Nice.
Why is it 21?
When we were 18.
Why isn't it when it's 26, when your frontal lobe is supposed to be fully developed?
Because then you miss a lot of fun if you're not drinking until you're 26.
Because juvie doesn't have that much room, Jeff. That's why.
You'd be that much more responsible and get shit that much more handled at 26 and have more time to go fuck off and get drunk and high.
True.
Maybe.
It's possible.
Dude, I wasn't getting much of anything handled when I was 26, I'll be honest.
You know why?
Yeah, I do know why. I was high. I wasn't often drunk. Drinking came later.
I didn't drink much. I still don't drink much. Well, it's time to ride. Let's do we start with police stories.
Police stories.
But this one, we asked a question on one of the SKATCAST shows. I think it was Inside Scooper or Inside Shit with Monique and I. But it was, have you ever tased an old lady? And we want closure to that there. To that question.
I mean, at work or voluntarily? Like
first of all, in your private life, have you ever tased an old lady? We'll just get that one out of the way. 70 plus.
No.
Okay, never. And I don't know if 70 plus is old these days. Who knows? Who knows what old is? But gray or blue hair. So no. Okay.
No.
But in your professional life.
No.
No.
Out
of all the calls.
But.
So you weren't worried about old ladies when they're walking down the street. You're like, you're not watching her like, hey, it's 2 a.m. Why are you out there, old lady?
Well, it just all depends. There's a whole lot that goes into that. There's a lot of variables on that.
Well, I'm glad.
And I did actually. I didn't arrest him, but I did interrupt a transaction with a prostitute for a guy that was 81 years old. It was awesome. He'd worked your car. I didn't arrest him that time for cocaine, but I arrested him another time for cocaine.
Oh, man.
He'd ride her out on his bicycle. His wife died like 10 years earlier, and he's like, you know what? I just decided this is how I was going to live. I was going to start doing drugs. I didn't want a relationship, so I started having sex with prostitutes. And
what the hell
this is where
TV
I'm at in
shows
life,
you
and I'm
watching?
going to live like this till I die. And that's what he did.
You know, somebody said, save heroin until you're old and sick. And it's like, I'm going to do that just in case.
Old lady story. It was at a retirement center. And this old lady was being disorderly, apparently. Tearing up the place, I guess. So,
way to go, Grandma.
She was running amok. I don't know.
Kick his ass.
She was 97
Bingo
years
didn't
old.
go very well that day.
97-year-old lady. Fire was there, but they wouldn't respond because she was being so violent. until the police came and made it safe for him, because everybody knows that fire, even though they might get there first sometimes, they're still the second responder. I got to make it safe for them.
Oh, throwing down on the fireman. Okay.
I mean, it's just, it is what it is.
Shots fired.
Not their fault. They're following policies. It's
Right.
okay, you know. Anyway, so I get there, and this she's mad. She's angry. She got her walker, and she's 97. She's got it. She can try and hit you, and you know, so I got her to get her walker down, and she's standing there, and then she grabs a hold of my arm, and she's trying to bite me, and I realize she has no teeth, so I literally just let her stand there and chew on my arm like it was a drumstick, like it was a turkey drumstick from Disneyland.
She's gumming you.
She gnawed on that thing. Well, and the medics are there, the fire department's there. They're trying to make calls to see if they can get her, like, I think it was Ativan or something, to get her to calm down.
Right.
They're not being able to get a hold of anybody to get back to them. It's taken a while. I mean, this was a good hour-long call where she just gnawed and gnawed and gnawed on my arm.
Gummed and
and
gummed.
And all the medics and everything, they're kind of frantic, like they don't know what to do, and they wouldn't transport her
Right.
because apparently
they didn't want to be gummed.
She was so out of control. They wouldn't transport her. They wanted me to handcuff her and transport her in my patrol car at 97 years old.
Jeez.
You fucking high.
I want to be 97 and that big of a problem.
Was she
to
high?
20, 30 year olds.
Was going to be my next question.
She finally did
somebody
get
mix
high
up her meds
after about
or
an
what?
hour. No, she was just had dementia, and honestly, she wasn't. I mean, other than the fact that she was chewing on my arm, it was. I don't know what the hell she did before. She's 97 on a walker, dude. You can't really tear up the world too bad.
That gives me hope,
That's
though.
what I was
that
going to
point.
say, man. Like, if you
Stay
have the
ornery.
capacity to choose violence and pull it off at 97,
Stay
you're
ornery.
fucking
I mean, good
winning.
on her
Yeah.
for
You're winning.
Exactly.
I
That's
mean, good on her for. I mean, but
inspirational.
it wasn't definitely wasn't unmanageable for anybody in there,
Right.
including just the employee. But I understand. Sometimes
They wanted
people get
you to
frazzled,
accept
they
the
need some help.
liability.
Yeah,
instead of
they're
that.
like-
Yeah.
You snap
your
those little
fault.
bones, those tiny little.
We're not going to
bones.
kill her. You kill her.
Yeah. Jeez. So
Let's call Mikey. He'll do anything.
Exactly. Mikey likes to
He likes it. So,
punch a gum lady.
the end result of that, it took about an hour. They finally were able to give her meds, and she got done gnawing on me.
Is meds a euphemism for tranquilizer in this case? Or?
Those bones in there, I mean, if you pinch down hard enough on those bones, they will kind of give you a little owie pinch.
Oh, yeah?
So, yeah, I had to be kind of careful of that. So, just give her...
But you didn't have to tase her.
Just give her a light swat on the
No,
snout.
I literally let her chew on my arm for like an hour.
Would you want like a squirt gun, like a psst, psst, for those kind of
Spray
people where you're
gun.
like, just little old lady?
No, grandma.
For a while,
Boomer off.
here's what
Boomer-offs.
I liked to carry around.
Boomer away spray.
Have you seen the glitter for cakes?
Yeah.
Yeah, the edible glitter.
Yeah.
For a while, I was carrying around some edible glitter, and I would go to a call where somebody was just...
Of fucking course you were.
Yeah, I know that sounds random and odd, but it is not for Jeff.
Everyone else
Absolute.
listening just went, "What the fuck?" Please
like,
note
yeah.
that neither Zach nor I were just like, "We'll take that in stride." That seems like a Jeff thing to do.
There's a pocket in his utility belt for glitter. Of course,
it
there
was
is.
actually just in my front
Batman
pocket,
did the
and they
same
would-
thing. I'm sure.
course he did.
It's like... Here they're calling me to solve their problems for them. I give them resolve for their problems. They don't want the answer. So finally, I just pull out the glitter and go, here. I spray glitter for you. That's about all I can do.
That's going an extra mile to be a smart ass. That's special.
Like
shit.
that's all I got. I got glitter, or I got the advice that I gave you, take it or leave it.
Like
And then I would walk away.
with glitter left behind.
Yes.
So that they were like, well, he gave us an option.
If you
Did you do it like fabulous?
I hope so.
just kind of a little, well, yeah, kind of really
with flair
It's
and
more like
attitude. It's
gotta be
a
fun.
rainbow squirt, and then it arched over them and
And then spirit fingers.
Did you ever sha la la?
followed by a big grin.
Awesome. Well, okay, so that's a gummy story, and that's really not our police story yet. Our police story today is going to be kind of about Christmas and being arrested for Christmas gifts.
Dude, you can't talk about Christmas in our Halloween episode.
Got to.
That's like something wrong.
We're
with
getting
that.
ready for it's all holidays, all the time, for the next 3 months.
So yeah, I had to arrest a guy for sending his separated wife a check to buy the kids a Christmas present. So what happened was they were going through a divorce. I don't know anything about these people. I don't know if he's an asshole or what. It doesn't really matter. But But they had 2 kids, wife, 2 kids. They were separated, going through a divorce. She had an order against him that he couldn't have contact with them anyway. Christmas time came up. He sent her a check with a note that said, please buy the kids something nice for Christmas. That was it. So.
What an asshole.
But that is a violation of the order because he contacted her via mail.
Mm-hmm.
And that is a mandatory arrest. Mandatory arrest.
That's stupid.
Domestic violence mandatory arrest. So I talked to the gal.
So it was a no contact order that he was violating.
He violated
correct?
no contact order.
Okay.
And like I said, I don't know the whole story of it, but it's like the premise of what I'm seeing. And maybe it was some sort of manipulation tactic at the end. I don't know.
Yeah.
I really don't. But the order was violated. But the part about it was the gal gets the envelope and she shows me the note and she shows me the check. I take a picture of everything. I grab out a bag and I get the envelope and the check and I start to put them in the bag and the letter. And she's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm collecting evidence. She's like, well, no, I want the check.
Yeah, well.
I'm like, no. No. This is my
I want to
evidence.
have my cake and eat it too.
Yeah, so she was not pleased. So she was not pleased that she didn't get the check and that I took it for evidence. And then I had to go to this guy and arrest this guy for
unintended
violating
I'm
order.
here to ask the questions that everyone wants answered, Jeff.
Yes.
Did you need to take the check?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hey,
Could you have been less
I'm
of
just
a
like, I know you.
I mean, I
you'd be
could
like, you know
have-
what? Fuck you.
Bah, humbug.
I mean, I will be honest, that's kind of how I felt. I'm like, you know what? Without having just on face value what I've got, yeah, okay, I get it. It's mandatory and you're going to execute that, but your kids and you aren't going to get the money. And that's really shitty.
So correct me if I'm wrong, this wouldn't have been an issue unless she reported it as a violation, correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
So this is her causing this. This is the unintended consequences of not knowing the law or not knowing the situation.
Oh,
This
no,
is
she
art of
wanted him
war.
arrested.
This is her not knowing how to go to battle.
She wanted him to go to jail. Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Absolutely.
She just
And
didn't think through the check part.
right. Yeah,
check
yeah.
as evidence
Yeah,
part.
she kind of missed that part.
Thanks.
But
Should have cashed it first and could have kept the check, right?
yeah, and that's why I just don't like mandatory arrest. I just don't.
That's kind of the
context always should matter, I feel like.
It really should matter. I mean,
well, okay, this isn't a reasonableness party thing, but let's go reasonableness party
Everything
with
is
it.
a reasonableness
It
party
should
thing.
be. It should be. But there wouldn't be mandatory minimums for anything, I don't think.
it's not even. It's not. I'm not talking
Or
mandatory.
mandatory
minimums.
arrests, I mean. But yeah,
Right, and this falls into flat out domestic violence, and a lot of people get knee jerk reaction like, you mean it's okay for, it's always the man hit the woman? Well, first off, that's usually not.
It's like half and
it's about
half, isn't it?
50-50,
Yeah.
But no, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying there are reasons there for the purpose of law enforcement and why I got in to help people. There's definitely a reason to step in and help someone, and
Definitely.
and there are those times. There are also those times when a 20-year couple who've had a successful life had a shitty night and somebody got pissed and chucked a glass against the wall because both of them been drinking a little bit too much wine, and now they're going to jail and there's going to be a protection order and their life is fucked.
Right. And there's nothing, and you can't
for
really
the government getting involved.
and you can't really undo it because the government doesn't work quick and it doesn't even really work.
Right.
So as soon as you're in the system kind of thing, huh?
I would rather, after doing my career, I would rather go to a domestic violence situation where there was probable cause to arrest one of the parties. We'll say the man because that's where everybody goes with. And she doesn't want him arrested, but I have enough information based on what I see, what I've learned, that I made the decision myself to arrest him anyway for her safety. It wasn't mandatory. I just overrode the fact that she didn't want to be a victim, and this is why. I would rather explain that and have that leeway to be able to do that, but not always have it be, yes, you're going to make an arrest mandatorily, because some of them are just ridiculous.
You've told me a bunch of stories where you're like, I had to, or you know what I mean? I can't remember any off the top of my head, but it does seem pretty heartbreaking.
Yeah.
You'd want to give the circumstances, you want to trust the reasonability of the officers that you put out on the street, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So
But it is.
But we also don't want Judge Dredd, even though I think that's one of the greater, especially the new Judge Dredd. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, that's the one thing with mandatory arrest is you mandatorily have to make her arrest. Sometimes it's a coin toss as to who you take, and the reality is you make the best decision as to who you're going to take.
It's usually
but you
both
have to
people
know
being
that
assets.
sometimes you got played at some point, and you have to know that as a human being. Like, maybe I took the wrong person to jail. And so when that happens, when really it's a situation where neither one of them probably should go, but they both did some dumb shit that is criminal, like slapping and dumb stuff like that. And then if you make the wrong decision, then you feel really crappy.
Right.
I mean, but you never know.
Right.
The thing is, you are protected from making that wrong decision because it is mandatory. But I don't like that. I would rather be pressed more to make a good decision.
Yeah, for sure.
That's just my opinion. I think that other officers may like the safety of it, but then again, I don't think. What does the government really do when they step in a domestic violence? What's their intent? Is it to make your relationship better?
No, it's to arrest somebody, it's to remove somebody.
I'm removing this person, and while this person is removed, you go somewhere else, and then you guys never be together again
Like ever.
because we had to get involved.
Yeah.
But we'll
And we're
also
going
make
to-
it really hard for you to get divorced efficiently.
Yeah.
Right,
And
right. Yeah, we're
the life
also
of
going
your
to
kids is
complicate
gonna suck, and-
the civil side of that. We're going to put orders in, and then if people come back, they're going to get arrested again. And absolutely, there is a time and a place for all of that.
So when people say social workers can come in and do that job, this is kind of like maybe that anarchy system or whatever. How often, what percentage of the time would you say the police officer with a gun and that intimidating kind of vibe is essential to work in a DV case? And I don't even know if you can quantify that, but work in a DV case, that sounds like a
if you've
moron.
got if you're intimidated by a
fucking talk
uniform, that's not my problem. That's yours. I think if anybody comes in to a situation,
Batman wears a cape for a reason, bro. Come on.
unless there's a call to be intimidating to start off with, if you're coming in intimidating, it doesn't matter if you're a social worker or a police officer, you're probably handling that call wrong anyway.
Right. So I probably asked that. I probably slanted that too wrong. Like
And maybe I took the call too literal, or your question too literal.
I'm thinking more along like, a lot of people are saying, part of the defund the police thing is like, if you really, really look into it, some of it's like, well, what kind of specialized things can we remove from police officers? They have 500 jobs. Can we take 10 of them? Is this one of those things where domestic violence can escalate immediately, like the moment you get there and you never know?
Well, even most of the calls, the mental health calls and everything, those can escalate immediately too.
Yeah, so there's really no way to hand that over to a
Right.
You have to be trained in physical
And I get
shit.
the idea of why would you send somebody with a gun to go help somebody who's mentally ill? Most of the time, it's a valid question, but it's like, well, we have that to keep ourselves safe because we don't want anybody else to be around them or them to harm them.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really for other people's safety and our safety. But yeah, we get put in positions where then we have to shoot the person we're trying to help, which sucks.
A lot of people don't realize that a person and just their bare hands can kill people,
Right.
Or just a stick or a hammer or, so
right.
that's
Domestic violence alone, I guess I shouldn't say without knowing the statistics, but it would be highly likely to believe that more domestic violence related deaths occur from being strangled than anything else.
Right.
by hands.
I bet you're right.
Yeah, hands and or using hands within a rope or something.
And the last words in most of those is kind of crass, but shut the fuck up. That's probably it. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. That's the last words of the day before they go to jail. But like, shut the fuck up. Oh, shit. Yikes. Anyway, so thank you. So somebody got arrested for sending their kids gifts, Christmas money.
Yeah.
And that is the nature of how our stupid system is.
And what sucks is, and like I said, maybe there's a lot of things in there. There was nothing from that call that implied that it was really done maliciously. He just sent money.
That's absurd.
That's why it bothered me.
I wonder, wouldn't
even if he was portrayed as this is some type of manipulation and he's trying to weasel his way into some other deal, maybe I would understand, but that never came up.
Right. I wonder, does that go in front of a judge ever, or does it just go like, I don't
Yeah.
Okay, so a judge would probably be like, what the fuck? You don't know how that ended, right?
No.
Right, you wouldn't be there in the court for that.
Unless it was, unless I had to go to trial for it, but
If you're the judge, there's got to be some days where you're just like, God damn, our system is stupid. What the fuck is this here in front of me for? What a waste of money, time, education, fucking that guy's life. What the fuck?
Yeah, but they get powdered wigs. So,
I would do it for the powdered wigs at any point.
Yeah, I guess the moral of the story is, do anything you can do to not have the government come solve your personal problems. I understand if you're unsafe, would be a reasonable person to call, but don't call them for advice.
It's the last resort because you
don't call the government for advice on your relationship.
Yeah, you basically said it. It's like we're here to remove you guys from each other's presence forever, kind of thing. So
that's the intent.
So think of that before you call the police. It's like, well, do you have a bigger cousin or something? I don't know.
Or
then we're back to vigilante shit.
Here's another thing.
Bring your
I'm gonna call Ivan.
Another thing on the mandatories thing that I've always wondered, and apparently this is offensive. But there's always a mandatory arrest for the primary aggressor. Mm-hmm. Why isn't there mandatory? So our intent is to destroy this relationship, basically, right? We're separating them, putting orders in so you can move on with your life. And if we're really helping people as the government, why isn't there some sort of mandatory counseling system? Which I know mandatory sounds terrible, but like, look, we're going to help you, but we're going to force you to get some help too. I mean, we're forcing him to do things because
that fits the government MO to come in and just tell people what to do for sure.
Yeah, there's
help
definitely
me. Sure.
People live in cycles, right? So let's help them get out of their cycle.
I don't know if this is true or not, but I've heard this for years, and it could be a shovelcock thing. But I believe in Arizona, when you get, in other states too, when you get divorced, the state requires that the children go into counseling, and that there's some other counseling too on top of that for the adults.
I don't know anything
Who
about that.
pays for it?
I don't know. I mean, I guess the surplus of money that state has, which I'm sure all states are rich as fuck. But I don't know. I wonder if that's a good idea too. It's the same kind of thing where basically, if that's true, Arizona is recognizing that there's some serious stuff that happens psychologically to a child during divorce, and they're willing to say same kind of thing where it's like you're obviously not doing this right, or there's some hiccups a coming, so here's the best way to prepare for it, kind of thing. I'm not necessarily against that
My elementary school
at all.
Forced me to take counseling when my parents got divorced.
Did they?
Yeah.
Did it help?
It wasn't like
Was
a
it
state
nice?
thing. It didn't help.
Right? I know. That's the problem.
But I wasn't like your typical.
You weren't open to it either, huh?
Kate. Like I was 9, and
okay.
And so like I had the cognitive capability at that point to wrap my head around it, but they were approaching it as though I didn't. So I remember the first session, and I remember her. She was actually a sweet lady. Her name was Miss Bolin. And
they get less sweet when they're condescending.
I think we ended up having a great relationship because she realized pretty early on that I didn't need this thing, but I also really liked going and hanging out in her office and playing with all the cool shit that she had, and just
Yeah.
So
we just hung out. So she was just giving me an escape from class every week, once a week.
That's awesome.
And I was like, that's fine with me. Like, that's cool. We get to just hang out. We didn't do a whole lot of talking after the first session because she said, so you understand that this isn't your fault, right? And I was like, yeah, of course it's not my fault. I said, I didn't have anything to do with it. And she was like, oh, okay. Why are you here?
Get out. That's really the whole point of this. Yep, go on. You're fine.
I was like, it's their fault. They didn't get along, and it wasn't because of me. So
the woman whom
yeah, so I was the woman who hearing them fight.
Yeah, that's where I was.
The woman whom you know her last name, remember specific conversations, although brief, and remember the countless times of going to her office to escape, that had no impact positively for you, as you said initially. The counseling didn't work.
Well, I don't know.
Good
that.
point.
Yeah,
like
you do make a valid point. I don't know.
Maybe
I don't think I would have been distraught without it because we didn't really work through any issues. I just thought she was a sweet lady. She was a friend to me, but I guess maybe that's what she thought I needed. So maybe.
Yeah.
Valid point.
She fucking 4D chest you.
Point.
She 4D chest you till you were 30.
Years old.
That actually, good.
I was going to say, and that is why I do encourage. Counseling isn't a you go once and it fixes, or you go 6 months and it fixes. It is something that you should do periodically throughout your life, very consistently throughout your life, depending on who you are. It's all about the picturing your body as the cup and the, you know, it filling up with the pressures and stresses of life. And if you don't empty the cup, then, you know, the cup overflows, right?
I look at it like an oil change. It's like you should probably every 3,000 miles, bro. Fucking get in there and talk to somebody, or write some songs.
And you guys have done. I mean, that's something I'm recognized. I want to start seeking that out. Just for like an oil change. I need a good, you know, look over and
big time
and help get some direction and focus with somebody that doesn't know me, has no vested interest in my life whatsoever.
Yeah, and they have some knowledge in what you're asking, the questions you're asking about psychology, and so So,
have you gone to any formal therapy as an adult? Either one of you?
No.
You can tell me to fuck off.
Yeah,
I haven't.
mandatory. Well, yes, mandatorily after shootings.
Never voluntarily.
No, other than I had a reach out a couple years ago to somebody who is a therapist, but it was not it was a professional, personal contact, if that makes sense.
Did you have that same stigma in your mind about, like we all kind of did, I think, after a certain age, you know, many years ago, about mental health, where it's like, that's for, you know, people that that's not me. I don't need
for
that
the crazies.
Exactly.
Well, I worked in a culture. That's
felt like the 90s. It was just all about that shit.
Because I worked in a culture where that's where you start.
Mm-hmm.
That happens to other people. That's not me. That happens to the weak guys. That doesn't happen to me.
Right.
And then the culture started to change, and it was really my generation, I think, that really started to recognize
that shit wasn't true.
People are having some issues, and it really makes a lot of sense, and we should allow them. So then it was an acknowledgement of issues, but we still haven't really gotten past when somebody tries to get help, they're accepted back. And I think we've discussed in other shows.
Yeah, we did.
Both the agencies have responsibility for that, but also so does the community.
Society, we're pretty rude about that shit. But we're also afraid, too, because it's like, well, you know, a lot of people are afraid of guns, period. So a person that's 1% off of, you know, the sanity, I think they're all... But that's like human nature, is to be... We're all like 50% off from
I guess
normal.
when we all finally are honest and realize we are all fucked up little poobahs just trying to figure it out, and none of us really have it, but some of us might have some valid points, and that's the best it gets.
Yeah,
that's the best it gets.
I think so.
And that's okay.
It is okay.
Yeah.
We can do better.
Yeah.
We're doing great, but we can do better.
Yeah, I get excited. You know, if I'm dumber, then I get to learn more than you throughout my life. Great.
Yeah.
You already know it. I get the excitement of figuring it out.
Fuck yeah.
I'm okay with that.
Mm-hmm. That's definitely a better mentality than you could be at. You know, this talking about that lady that affected you and your question to him about it kind of leads right into the next thing, which is, we promised this last week, or 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
I think it was last week. Important women in our lives.
I want Shaiden go
Dude,
first.
that was a smooth segue.
That was about the smoothest I ever had. It's not easy segueing these kind of topics, and I feel good about that one. I was sitting there waiting on it. I was sitting on it. I'm like, okay, I could interrupt like a cunt, but I'm not gonna.
Credit where credit's due, man.
We're gonna listen. We're gonna listen back to this and be like, it wasn't really that smooth at all. I was actually janky as fuck.
We're gonna delete out that high five. High five revoked.
But you got to leave in my toy.
Yes. Yeah. We'll just sample that. That'll be the first ringtone.
Totally supposed to be funny.
It's going to be my text alert since my current one annoys everybody so much.
It's a Star Trek alert. We're all scared that the
but
ship's...
everybody thinks it's an Amber Alert.
Right.
Like, what is that?
Turn that off. No one cares.
No weird alarms around me.
Yeah, it really triggers Jeff.
Drop what I'm doing. What's going on? What the fuck? Something's going to happen. I need to get ready to fight.
I thought it was going to damage our friendship earlier on the patio. Yeah, so let's talk about some women, boys. And not in the way we usually talk about women. Just kidding. We're gentlemen.
I'd like to think so.
These guys are gentlemen.
You're a gentleman,
I'm
too.
Occasionally a gentleman. Yeah. I dabble.
I think that's part of our circle, is most of the dudes in my life are very respectful to lady folk.
Yeah,
mostly.
For sure.
Mostly.
For sure. I jest, but yes, I do hold myself accountable in that area. But I guess I'm gonna have to go with my stepmom, which is kind of cool because I feel like a lot of people have negative stepmom experiences.
Yeah, big time.
Especially when they come into your life when you're like already mostly grown. you know, like when you're a teenager, you're just like, fuck you, you're not my mom. Like, you can't fill those shoes.
Yeah.
It's
a
how
tough spot
how,
to be a
how it
step-parent,
usually
fuck.
seems to go. But my stepmom married my dad when I was 15 and moved to another country from she lived in a couple of towns all close together in Oregon for her entire life until this point, you know, and then uprooted and moved to Canada and left all of her shit, quit her job, and went up there to marry my old man.
BC
which
is
should
like
tell
Oregon
you what a stud
North.
my old man is.
Yeah.
But she earned some of my utmost respect because I don't want to run a smear campaign in an official capacity, but my mom was not a great mom to me when I was younger for a lot of reasons, and I was not the most low maintenance child ever at any point in my life. You know, like I wasn't a typical like, I'm gonna smoke cigarettes and, you know, swear and fuck you and, you know, go get drunk and stuff, but I was hard to deal with because I was a head case.
It's like, he's out fighting swords with the rabbits in the yard, and there's bungee cords, and we don't know.
He locks himself in the bathroom. We don't know what he's doing in there for 2 hours.
We think it's meditation.
That's called denial. That's the best drug.
So, but she came in to my life arguably at the height of my struggling to reconcile my head with the rest of the world. I mean, I was 15.
That's
you know,
tough.
so that was like, it's a tough time for anybody. And she had, all my stepsisters are girls, and they were all raised by the time she married my dad. So she had only ever raised girls. So not only did she not know how to deal with raising a boy child,
boy child,
but
I like that
she coined that term, actually.
Boy child. Bring me the boy
in
child.
my life, yeah. But she also was, I mean, nothing could have prepared her for dealing with me at age 15. So, I mean, that alone garners her some respect for me as an adult looking back. But, I mean, she was and continues to be a champ at, like, she never tried to insert herself forcibly into the role of being my mom, but the way that she conducted herself kind of just naturally turned her into like the best mom figure that I could have asked for in my life, you know, which is awesome. And she continues to be that, and she still is just like, she is not intrusive, but she always just kind of fucking drops in whenever she's needed, you know. And it's like fucking, I don't know, I got nothing but love and respect for her, and for all intents and purposes she is my mom, and she's fucking great partner for my dad, and extremely humble and extremely patient, and has a very bizarre sense of humor, which is endearing. So yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, I much love to my stepmom, Donna Kay. She's great people.
Hell yeah.
Yeah,
That's a nice tribute. All right. Now it's between you and I. Do you want me to go?
Go ahead.
Okay.
let her rip.
I don't know. I have so many lovely women in my life that have been there. I mean, my wife is the most amazing woman I've ever met, and her mom is amazing. And they're both two of my very best friends of all time. I do have to say my mom, as far as a woman that, because for as much shit that I give my mom,
it was the dog
SKATCAST,
food, wasn't it?
It was the dog food. Like, my mom did teach me something that I think has been valuable in my life. It's like, she's a deeply compassionate and she's a very loving person and forgiving and positive minded. Even though, like, at the end of her life, she was so positive that it seemed fake to a lot of people.
Yeah.
And a lot of people didn't like my mom because it seemed really fake. And it was fake, I think. And at the end of her life, it felt like it was a kind of a big house of cards that fell, where she's like, I can't be fake anymore. This sucks. You suck. Everyone sucks. And it's like, okay, that's a life of denying kind of stuff and whatever. But her attempt at being kind, and the fact that she was kind to so many, like, she was a business owner that had thousands of customers and stuff, and a lot of them love her. She was the crazy lady that, sold them dog food and shit. But it was, she was important to giving me the base of that. You have a big enough heart to love lots of people. That's the thing that I learned from her, where she would say that all the time too, where it's like, you don't have to be that way to that person. You can love them too, and that helped me so much in my life. As I, get frustrated as an adult with people and things, it's like, I have room to love them too. I have room to forgive a lot of people, a lot more than I think I do. And
that's why you
harm
continue
me.
to put up with me. So.
You're forgiven forever for all your transgressions, both you cunts. But
that's like a fucking free license to fuck with you for the rest of your life. Hell yeah.
my mom also fucking, and you're more than welcome to, you son of a bitch. Push my buttons. But my mom also instilled things like, I don't think I'm the best businessman in the world. I'm interested in it, and I'm a cheerleader for business people, and I do have businesses, and I want them to succeed. But my mom being she was a single woman business owner for a long time. But with my mom and my dad, they were such a great team. And they showed me all of the stuff behind the scenes. And my mom was such a great teacher. Like, she took the time to explain things to me whenever I asked questions, whether she knew the answer or not. And, all of those things made, when I had to think about this, it's like, by far my wife is the most important woman and the most influential woman. She's the one that domesticated me and grew me up big time. I was a weirdo until I met her. And my mother-in-law is an absolute gem of a human being that is inspiring in every way. But my mom is the one that by far obviously had the most impact, and it wasn't bad. Like, there were things that she taught me about by being foolish and somewhat dishonest. Like, she taught me, she was the most honest person. Her and my dad didn't have the best relationship, so there was a lot of lies there, and there's some other stuff and whatnot. But I learned real quick, it was like, well, this is how you break a relationship, is you lie. And so even though, I'm saying people I respect, I do respect that my mom tried to survive and tried to do what she had to do. I'm sure there were many reasons, but she did also show me many good things, but also like not to be. And she was good about it too, because I would call her out on that shit, and she'd be, she wasn't vitriolic at me or angry. She was a very patient person, and so
that makes sense. I mean, I've personally never really expected perfection or infallibility out of people that I have respect for,
Right.
Like, I feel like, and honestly, people having flaws and seeming a little more human to me kind of endears them to me
same
more, especially if they're working on them or if they're aware of them and they're just like, yeah, I'm kind of a fucker sometimes, but I'm trying not to be.
My mom was,
I love that.
She had so many self-help books. It was like the library of my house, and the books that I inherited some classics and some great stuff, but I inherited like every self-help book that exists from 1991, even earlier than that. We had Dianetics, fucking Scientology shit and stuff. But I will say I love my mom, and sorry to my mama, and I do have to say she was the first and the most important impact for the longest amount of time. So I met my wife.
I got to know your mom for the last couple years of her life.
What'd you think? You got a weird.
She was really sweet to me. I was impressed with your mom automatically because during that period she was coming to like almost all of your gigs. It seemed like
my whole life,
which I was like, bro,
my whole life.
My mom, again,
every game.
I'm not trying to run the shame train on my mom, in a public forum, but I think I can count on one hand the number of my gigs that she ever came to. It's like, so like watching your mom show up, I was just like, fuck it. And she was not like just, like it's a chore. Like she was like, fuck yeah,
yes.
Zach. Like every time, no matter how small. She could be one of 10 people that happened to show up at a little bar gig that we played, and she was right there.
And I was just told a couple weeks ago that was Zach's mom in Zach's life every day of his life. She was there cheering him on.
Absolutely,
and
she was.
And I only knew her for a couple of years too, and she was super sweet, overly sweet, cautiously sweet. I'm just
she was very sweet though.
I'm just inherently suspicious of very nice people.
Yeah,
because for whatever reasons, and but. Whether she was genuine within her heart or not, she at least appeared genuine to how she treated me.
Yeah.
She treated me consistently the whole time I knew her.
Yeah, so. She loved you guys, both of you guys.
Well,
awesome.
There's a ton of value to having a mom who's consistently fuck yeah, yeehaw for your entire life, no matter what you're doing.
Oh, I wouldn't trade it for anything. Yeah, I really wouldn't.
And you know what?
Awesome.
That kind of ties in to, if you're not ready to segue and we keep talking about your mom, I want to hear it. But that does kind of segue into why I picked the person that I did.
Please.
Because your mom cheered you on your life.
Yeah, that was huge. That was a major thing.
I should qualify that, I always say I have mommy issues, and I 100% do.
Right.
But I love my mother. Mm-hmm. Her and I just because of life aren't particularly close, it doesn't mean we don't care about each other.
She had a lot of kids. It'd be tough to be that close.
Yeah,
to
she just
all
got,
your kids.
she has had a ride of life, and it's been good and it's been bad, and I just hope that she really enjoys it and it continues, and we don't have bad hearts or anything. We're just not overly close, but overall, I'm not overly close with most people in my family.
Right. Yeah.
Just and most of it's my own damn fault, quite frankly.
We're going to have another smooth transition, by the way, from this one. Just saying. Go ahead. This is in the future.
And you just
calling
ruined it.
I'm calling it.
So
I'm calling my shot.
anyway, no, the gal that, for whatever reason, made the most impact in my life was a gal named Mickey Tavares, and she's still alive today. I still see some of her stuff on Facebook, and just kind of likes here and there. But she I grew up with a friend named Brian Tavares. This was his mom. Because of some issues and the ways that I grew up, there were times where I ended up living with them for weeks to a month at a time, off and on for a few years. And so she kind of became this mother figure to me. I mean, she would take care of me.
Right.
And she was the cool mom. Like, we were kind of getting, we were young. Back then, I was 13, which seems super young now. Well, I don't know. I mean, kids are doing fentanyl at 9, but I mean, It wasn't abnormal
Not
to buy
all
your
the
kids
kids.
beer at 13 years old back
Right.
then. It was just kind of normal, and let them chew and shit like that. So that was all normal, but it was great. We didn't catch any flack for it. But you know what? She was always honest with us. She always looked over for us, and she let us be who we were and talk to her. And she was always encouraging. Just fucking do it. If you're going to do it, then do it.
Nice.
Just always pushing to have drive.
Right
And
at the right age, too.
Yeah, so throughout my life, there's always memories of her talking to me. I mean, she was the one that would turn me on to positive thinking and listening to Tony Robbins. Like, she introduced me to Tony Robbins back when you listened to cassettes, and I was, by then I was, early 20s. But so she remained in my life, and even when I didn't have to live with her anymore or anything like that, I would just check in with her, and she just always had good things to say and always a positive outlook and supportive of whatever I had going on, just like you'll make it through. And for the most part, when you have that and you're hearing that from somebody you respect, you believe it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So-
it's so much more important when it comes from, big time.
Yeah.
Cool. Awesome. So those are the women that we respect.
Yeah, I have several.
I was gonna say
Zach
many.
rattled
Yeah.
off a couple, but I have quite a few. I've been pretty lucky in that department myself.
Same. And our friends, we have a great friend circle of strong.
Yeah, absolutely. Most of
I almost picked your wife, Zach, but I was like,
I have a large. Shaiden.
I wouldn't blame you.
Shaiden and I have talked about this. I mean, I have a large group of female friends,
Right. You're not
that-
Mike Pence in it, that's for sure.
and they're all, but it's all respectful, people, and they all do, play a role in my life. That's valuable, just as my guy friends do. So yeah, I mean, we could probably go on all day about amazing women, but
Yeah.
it's the most impactful.
What was it? I'm trying to come to a certain conversation, I think, but it's like, how important is it to a young male, to have a female in your life that gives you the attention that, the patient, kind attention? I got that in spades, like my friend told you. Like, my mom was my cheerleader for a long time. And that's why I feel like, I don't know, I look around the world and I have less suffering, I think, just mentally than a lot of people do. And I don't know if that's because my dad's a fucking nutcase when it comes to suffering. He suffered throughout most of his life, it seemed. So genes-wise, I don't know. But my mom set me up, I think. And I'm not sure. Is that what women do for men in some ways? Or is that too broad and too generalized?
I had the exact opposite experience than you did with the stepmom growing up.
Did you? I wonder if you had more anxiety
which
in life,
definitely also caused. She's the one that really, I guess, caused the mommy issues. Not really my own mom.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, I went out and sought out Mickey for positive impact from a woman.
Right.
I mean, I just went, I found it from somebody else's mom.
Yeah, it's a whole other half of the equation, and I think
Seems
it's super fucking important. I mean, there's people like to put a lot of emphasis on, man, it's really important for young boys to have a father
strong
figure,
male
you know?
figure,
yeah,
yeah.
you know, and it's like, and it is,
Yeah,
I'm
100%.
I'm not disagreeing with that, but
It's not the only thing.
you know, balance in all things, right? I think that it's extremely important to have a figure on the other side of that scale to balance you out as a person, and I think the mother figure in your life plays a way bigger hand in shaping the destiny of your romantic encounters.
That's what I think too.
As an adult, you know what I mean?
As a father
Like,
of a daughter, it's like I understood real early. It's like my daughter is looking to me to see what it's like, what a good man is, to see what, you know. So it's like when she goes out in the world, she's trying to find somebody that's respectful. She wants to see, you know, how a man treats women and stuff. And I heard that somewhere when I was just getting into being a parent, and it was like, that's fucking important.
Yeah.
And that's that relationship the same way for the son and the mother.
Yeah,
I think you're right.
100%.
You nailed it.
Yeah, and
This is, I'm making it sound like this is some revelation. There's some people that have like studied
Like, no,
psychology
we're the
101.
first
They're like,
ones to ever think of
that's
this.
literally in the
you heard
summary
it here
of
on
page
Just a Ride.
I mean, I don't know how many different
Profound
versions
statement.
of my stepmother I had to date before I realized what the hell was going on. I mean, I
Right.
could probably come up with the number, but I'm not going to.
right. So our moms, if they're nice to us or if they're mean to us, I wonder how much that really truly affects the kind of people that we're looking for to partner with.
Yeah, hugely.
It has to, right?
I think, yeah.
If it sets your
I mean,
expectations
positively or negatively. I kind of went the other direction, where as soon as I saw a trait in a woman that reminded me of my mother, I was like, nope, we're done. Like, I'm good. I already experienced that once. I'm all set.
I feel that way too, actually.
You
I really
know?
do. I found my wife is she's pretty opposite of my mom.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's
But I've
good.
never met
That's
a single
good.
woman
I
like
think that's a good thing if you can see the things you don't want and learn from that just as much as you see the things you do.
Yeah. And
That's a good skill to develop.
I don't mean to disrespect my mom like that. She was not a bad person, and she was not a, evil or,
I don't think anybody
fake or
faults
a
you for not
liar.
wanting to marry your mom. I think that's fine.
Okay. You're not required to have Oedipus complex.
I meant from previous things I've said and all the SKATCAST episodes where I'm shitting on my
Somebody
mom's
that
life.
talks to himself the way you do, they might think you would have had it. So now you clarified some things.
She locked me in a safe for many of the years of my life. I had to talk to somebody, for fuck's sake. Gun Halifax has been around a long time. All right, so that was fun. And I think that we can go right to picking our family, because that's really, you picked a non-family member. Well, actually, it is a family member. Step-parent is absolutely a family member.
She arrived on the scene late, and I definitely chose her. I mean, my dad chose her, but I could have rejected her.
Yeah, you could have.
So.
It's tough being the stepchild.
Step-parent also, yeah.
Yeah, but being a stepchild, it's like, fuck, because like you said, the kids are, the whole point of the therapy is like, it's my fault.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you got to tell them it's not their fault. Anyway, moving along to, picking your family. Like, this is one thing that I only child, I looked at my friends, like brothers and sisters, pretty quick and stuff like that. But I don't know, I realized real early on that most of my family sucked and I didn't want to be around them. But Jeff, you're the one that brought this one up, where it's like, the point of this pick your family thing is like, it's okay to cut ties of a parent or a sibling or a family member if you think it's right, if you're following something and they become
Right. I was just thinking about the journey through life, and when you reach a point where, for me it was started to working out, and it grew into other things of not drinking and not chewing and just ultimately trying to live a whole different style of life.
Yeah.
But the thing that you don't think about as you start to improve, you start wondering why all of a sudden you start having conflicts with normal people in your life that have been in your life for a long time. And what's happening is you're changing for the positive. And if people aren't changing with you on a long enough timeline, you end up losing common interests, and just go different ways. And that happens throughout life growing up anyway, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you're actually causing this to happen, and there's times when I can feel bad, because there's sometimes when that occurs, that gap grows so big between a spouse where somebody's still sitting back to where they were 2 years ago, and the other party has made all these changes. Well, your lives are not the same anymore.
Right.
And you have to, and if the other person isn't going to come along with you, or the ultimate idea is to constantly improve yourself and have the other person by your side. You do that for each other, right? That's the kind of what I believe is the idea of relationships in life.
With compromise.
With compromise, absolutely, with
yeah.
compromise. But rarely does this happen.
Right.
And, usually it's one person or the other takes off in a direction, the other person just doesn't do anything or resists and fights. And then, so there becomes such a gap that the person who's elevating themselves leaves. And that's always kind of viewed in our society as bad, and without religion or anything, getting into that.
Mm-hmm.
But if you look at it the other side, if you have two comparable people in a relationship and one of them gets addicted to heroin, and now there's a huge gap again between them,
mm-hmm.
and the elevated person leaves that relationship, but is like, oh, well, that's reasonable.
Right. Nobody has a problem with the person where it's like, oh,
right.
There's nothing we can do for him.
And that's kind of the perspective I was coming from. But yeah, people aren't always going to be in your life, and understand that if you improve yourself, you might run into a situation where you're going to have to make those choices in life, just like we do, and it's not bad. But It's not always easy. Just because you improve doesn't mean everything gets easier. Sometimes it brings even bigger challenges into your life. But if you consistently improve those challenges, you'll figure out how to get through them. Yeah.
Well, it makes me wonder, what do you owe your family? You know what I mean? Like, what do we owe our family? Anything at all? For just like, I know you're talking about, potentially a spouse or something like that. That's a little bit different. But when I'm talking about picking your family and stuff, like, a lot of people sacrifice their mental health and their happiness and all sorts of shit to be with a family member, or, because they feel like they must. It's like, oh, I got to go to Thanksgiving.
Obligate. Well, if you feel like you have to be with anybody in your life out of obligation, you should probably readjust your life.
I don't think you should sacrifice yourself like that. No, because it doesn't make you healthy. It doesn't make you being a resentful person, and it leads to resentment. It leads to all sorts of negative shit. If you ask this jackass that doesn't know anything about anything.
Yeah, it's a large part of my creed and has been for most of my life. The whole, you choose who your family is. Like, nobody automatically has a right to call themselves my family. I don't buy the philosophy that blood is thicker than water, because
it's not true.
It's not been true one time. It's really easy to prove to be untrue. So I have chosen my own family, and I've done it over a long period of years. My whole life, even before I was an adult. I started doing that shit when I was still young, because I was sort of removed from a lot of my extended family when I was young anyway. Like, my dad was a little bit of a black sheep in his family,
mm-hmm.
and so by extension, thus
Ta-da.
I was as well.
Ta-da.
But and that's not to say that they're bad people. I've gotten to know them, and I like them, but they're not the family to me that the family that I've built is. Right. If you know what I'm saying, which I know you do, because you guys are the family that I've chosen. But I think that if somebody is going to be in your life to the point where you're allowing them to shape your development in one way or another, which will always happen when you allow someone to be close enough to you to be considered family, their energy is going to be shaping your direction of travel. It's unavoidable, in my opinion. So that alone should be a primary reason to be careful about who you allow to be family. And just because your uncle is your uncle doesn't mean that toxic piece of shit should be allowed to be around you all the time or shaping your direction of travel, if he is that. You know what I mean? If you have a great family, then more power to you. But if you don't, I don't think it's healthy to feel obligated to stick with that person. And I would extend that to boyfriends, girlfriends, spouses, even. If obviously try to work on it. If you've developed a partnership with somebody and you find your directions of travel are not converging the way that they once did, try to reconcile it if it means something to you, which it should, But I don't think there's any shame in this. Is to your point, Jeff, I don't think there's any shame. And moreover, I applaud people that have the courage to look at a situation and go, look, you don't fit in the direction that I'm going, and this is a direction I feel convicted that I need to go in for whatever reason it is. And if you're not going to join me on the journey, then I can't join you on yours not doing it, whatever direction you're going. So I guess this is where we need to change our dynamic, whatever that fucking looks like. So I think that's wise and prudent, and it's also fucking difficult to do. Because it's kind of terrifying thing to do when you actually have to when you're in a position where you have to kind of cut somebody out of your life or limit their exposure to you because of what you're choosing
in
to
lots
do.
of ways, whether it's
terrifying.
confrontation and that whole little battle of having to tell them and then cutting out because there's always unintended consequences, right?
And it might be something that you end up lamenting for years or perhaps the rest of your life, but it doesn't mean that you're going to look back and go, oh, that was the wrong decision. You're just going to go, man, I wish that didn't have to go that way.
Right.
But I'm still proud of me for sticking to my convictions and doing what I thought I needed to do.
Yeah.
So
have to take some solace. There's no win, but you at least did what you had to do.
I've never known anybody that has invested valid time into themselves and walked away disappointed for doing it.
Right.
Never once.
Mm-hmm.
That's fair.
Yeah.
That's important. It's our responsibility to do.
I had a first girl I ever dated when I was my early teens. I had just passed my main growth spurt, so I went from being really skinny to a chubby little fucker for a number of years, and then like 11th grade, I got into my I'm running every day before school, and like I was just like getting in the zone, and I'm gonna be hot by the time I graduate. And I was, thank you very much. But when I was doing that, it was towards the end of my relationship with her, and this may have contributed to the end of it, but I remember I was really starting to lose weight, and I was getting addicted to the process. And she asked me to stop running because I was making her look bad. And it was non-ironically, and I was like, no. That's funny. You can come with me.
I heard the same thing. Dude. I heard the exact same thing. So here's the deal. If you're in a relationship and you're wanting to improve and your partner is being resistive to that, you're in the wrong relationship. Just understand it right at that moment. And you're not going to fix it. So continue to do what you're going to do and cut the relationship before it goes down. Then has to get super, super negative.
Yeah, and hopefully figure that out before it gets to the marriage point.
Yeah.
If at all
now,
possible.
I'm not saying, you want to do, what the hell is that? Fucking the porn channel things.
OnlyFans?
Yeah, you want to do you want to, your passion's doing OnlyFans, and your boyfriend or girlfriend doesn't want you to. Okay, well if you're going to do that, that's probably going to ruin the relationship. So that's a different,
or it might enhance it. It just depends.
Yeah, it depends on who you're with, right? Yeah, like that's okay.
I'd like to see the stats on that. I don't think it's probably as good as we think it is.
Yeah, but that's really okay.
Yeah.
Well, fuck. All right. I thought that was going further than that. I'm like, what? I just fell off the fucking flat earth over there. All right.
It's on the ice walls.
Yeah. Well, I have a question for you on this. So we all have the same philosophy about the pick your family. Do you remember where you were in life where you were like, you kind of said, but where that mentality came, where you're like, blood isn't as thick as they say?
Yeah, I don't really remember a time where I didn't feel that way.
Really?
I think I kind of just, my dad has sort of always operated that way, so maybe he instilled it in me a little bit, unintentionally. Like, he wasn't like, now son, you choose who your family is. I never had that conversation with him.
But by example.
But now that we're adults and we've talked about it, I've discovered that he's always kind of felt that way, and I was like, so maybe a little bit his example, but also just by virtue of my circumstances, I was just sort of like, whoa, just because these people are related to me, like, I don't know, what have they done for me? They're not even, like, most of my family that wasn't my mom or dad, or later my stepmom, they didn't even tell me like happy birthday or anything. Like, it would just come and go, and like they would never just randomly be like, hey dude, how you doing, just checking in on you. And I was like, well shit, if you can't even do like the minimum, are you my family, or are you just somebody that's related to my parents?
Right.
So
it's kind of foreign to see, like, one side of my family, for some reason, they have this huge family reunion.
Yeah.
Where I don't even get it, and they all know each other, and they have all this time and stuff, and You know, my mom was always like, we got to go to this camp, Sway, you know, wherever it is, and got to do these things. You got to see Uncle somebody bug, and you're like, where do they live? I don't even know where they live. And, you know, and it did seem strange.
Like, I see the appeal. It's cool to have a tribe.
Yeah, I like the Johnny Bug who I'm talking about. He's actually a wonderful human being.
Yeah,
so
you know, like I've always been, like you're saying, I've been the outsider looking in, or like involved in it because I was invited by proxy, you know, or by virtue of who I know. Like, I got these 2 friends that are cousins that I'm really good friends with today, and I've been to several of their family functions, you know, like I went to his son's high school graduation and shit, and like this, just like watching their huge family and the whole dynamic, and like it's just a regular thing, like their family's just always been big and involved, and I'm like, this is so strange, like this is foreign to me.
It's same. We have some friends in California, a big Italian family, where I was like, this is amazing. How do you guys do this? And then, you know, behind the scenes, they're like, we all fucking hate each other. But, you know, we put on a thing for grandma. It's like, okay, grandma is the thing that holds it all together. Fair enough. My grandma didn't hold things together.
I love when people say
pushing apart.
Big Italian family, because I think when you put the word big and the word Italian together, it sounds like an Italian noodle. Like, we're having big Italian and sauce for supper.
As long as the breadsticks keep on coming.
Well, you guys were basically only children, right? I mean, are you an only child? Well, I mean, you've adopted your own brother, but... Yeah,
I have an adopted brother. I have a half-brother on my mom's side that was in part-time foster care, so I kind of grew up with him. But yeah, all my stepsisters were raised by the time, so I was like mostly an only child. I was my dad's only child.
And I have 2 stepbrothers too. You probably know that. Or maybe you do.
Did you grow up with them? Or?
No, not at all. I've met them one time.
Right. So yeah, I mean, you
but
guys,
family.
They are goddamn family thicker, even though they're not blood. But they're.
I mean, I have lots of family from, you know, my parents getting married lots of times, and, you know,
9
lots
sisters.
of kids, and yeah, just all these gaggles. But honestly, I talked to my one sister and my dad, and that's about it. But I think that just circumstances of life, I think I always sought out other family. I kind of wanted to be part of other families other than my own. I think a lot of time when I think back on it now.
Well, you're a good friend. You come in like a good friend, so you automatically become part of a family when you're friends with somebody. It seems like.
Yeah,
you're good at nurturing friendships, and at least with me.
You know what's funny? What helped with that when I was a kid was, we were taught yes sir and yes ma'am, and you do your own dishes and you pick up your plates and you eat your food and you take off your shoes before you go in the house. I mean, I was raised to be an adult. Right. At a very small, which maybe there's some positives and negatives.
We're
in that,
rethinking that,
but it was
a little bit.
It was highly impressive to other people's parents as a child. So they automatically loved me and wanted their kids to hang out with me, so I would rub off on maybe teach them some manners.
Oh, how! Yeah. Well, their kids are probably a little corrupted now.
Yeah, they were wrong.
You guys ever see Leave It to Beaver and Eddie Haskell?
Yeah,
there was a little Eddie Haskell and Jeff there.
Yeah, there was a lot of Ed. Well, that was going to so come out wrong. I was going to say there was a lot of Eddie Haskell in me with that. I still had to say it. Understand? I just wanted everybody to know. I caught it before I said it.
It works for me.
Don't take that out of context, and by don't I mean please do.
Please
Absolutely
do.
And post it.
Meme it.
Oh God, I can just see it. I'm gonna be cooking bacon. Eddie Haskell behind me.
Yes.
Awesome.
See, you brought it. You brought it into the world.
Yes, you spoke it into being.
You deserve it.
I was kind of that friend as a kid too. Like I was always like my dad was like, take care of your shit, and do your own thinking, be respectful, and like all that shit, So I kind of had that. But I remember like bringing over friends for like dinner or whatever that weren't that way, I have a very crystal clear memory because like we didn't have a lot of money, so and we didn't have a lot of food,
right? So
when I would invite somebody over for dinner, it was usually like, please let them stay for dinner, I'll split my portion with them, kind of shit, and it's like he's like, okay, fine. But after all of that, I remember I brought this friend over, and it was the first time like he had like really hung out at my house, and we served dinner, and he sat down at the table, and he's like, oh, I don't eat this.
Ooh.
And my dad was like, don't bring him here ever again.
Yeah. Like literally after he said that, he's like, get the fuck out and don't come back.
Your friend has no backbone. Get him out of my house.
Yeah. The tension in the room was just like atmospheric. I was just like,
Eat this.
Feel the blood leave your head.
What was it? Shit on a shingle? What do you remember
fish.
the food?
It was fish, you
I'd
know.
say the same thing. I don't
know.
eat this.
Yeah, you're both
Fuck
assholes.
No. I would choke it down.
Exactly. I would suffer in silence.
Yeah, the ghost of my grandfather would come punch me in the face if I didn't choke it down. All right, we're gonna switch it up. See, this is the most sloppy one of all time.
Are you speaking in tongues?
I don't. This is why I edit my show. My show's edited.
That's a good talent that you have.
Reasonableness party. We're gonna move along to money. We've decided. I'm surprised we haven't talked about money yet.
I am too.
That's kind of strange.
Given that it's sort of your jam, right? It's
It is
one
my-
of your jams.
It is my jam.
It's a jam that you
back to
occasionally
gold.
rock out to.
I'm interested in economics, but I'm really I don't really care about money. I care about like the human action of it all, like why people transact and they trade and their attitudes towards it. Like that's the interesting thing. Like I could do without money. Then we could actually let's talk about it. So
Could you?
Yeah, I think so. Well, no. As philosophically, when looking at the world, the Star Trek society isn't stupid because it's based on some scientific
So
things.
you want to talk about bartering? You know that's exactly what I would
Nope.
love to do.
I don't want to talk about. Well, I do want to talk about bartering with you, but I do not want to trade a goat for a sandwich. I don't know how you break up a goat
That is
into
a
the right
shitty
decimal.
deal. If you trade a whole goat for a sandwich, you're not good at bartering. You got
The
ripped
barter
off.
system falls apart because you need okay, I need 67 sandwiches to equal this goat. I don't know if I'm going to eat that many sandwiches. I'm not sure I want it tomorrow. I just want one. So that's why money's good.
How many of something that you can produce equals an iPhone
Fuck.
or a car, for that matter,
Jeez.
or gasoline?
Uh-huh.
Right,
Well,
exactly. Because that's like I used to think like, oh, the barter system would be cool. Like I'll do my thing and I'll trade some of my stuff for the thing that my buddy does that I don't have, and that seems great. But like
Falls
when
apart
I
quick.
really started to think about it in the context of modern society, I'm like, well, how do I like what can I like? How many songs do I have to write in order for somebody to give me a used car of theirs?
Right.
Like it's never going to happen.
Or do you have to write
know?
a song a day to eat?
Like, I mean, maybe if I landscape their yard all summer, they'll give me a car that'll break down in a month. Like, I don't know, man. Like, that's just, it seems like a really romanticized
Why does it have to
but
be
inefficient
why does
way.
it automatically have to be a shitty car that's going to break down? If there is a money system, maybe it's a valuable car, and he doesn't have a lawnmower. You have the lawnmower. He's got maybe gas and a broken lawnmower, so he can't take care of his lawn. So you take care of his lawn because that's a high value to him. So he gives you a better car.
I just don't see that
but it
ever
doesn't happen
happening in the real
repeatedly.
world.
Yeah, it just has to be really a
You have to
miraculous system.
Decide what your value is in this. No, I know it's a shitty system, but I think in a very
You would
small
kick ass in
community,
it.
I think it would be really cool.
And you would kick ass in it.
I think having it as
I don't know. I'd
as
be like
a facet,
a hitman, I guess.
Yeah,
for-
you'd be a mercenary.
barter system.
You'd
I
be
think
the merc.
having it as a larger facet of a overarching system that also involves currency would be cool. Like I think that, you know, like promoting a subsystem of bartering
You can do
with
that, barter.
also currency existing over to fill it, to supplement the things, you know, that would be something I would love to
Absolutely.
think
I don't know
about.
much
think that
about
would
the
be
gold,
awesome,
the gold
you know?
rush and paying with gold and pinches and stuff like
Right.
that. I don't know how all that worked. That was gold and currency, right?
This is gold standard, yeah. Having the dollar be valued in gold, so you
Yeah.
could turn a dollar into the bank and get a tiny little sliver of gold, kind of, or silver is actually what they would probably give you. But yeah, that was that, and at least it gave you something because we're making up money. So
Yeah.
the point of this is like, what would the reasonableness party? How would we act with money? Now, most governments, their number one thing that they do is they issue money. Like our Treasury Department, it's probably the most creative thing that the government does is they make our money. They make it look all purty and all that stuff. But we've seen in the last several years, whether you like Bitcoin or not, we've seen that there is potential for competition in the market. And why? Because the market is saying, well, money is controlled by governments, and governments can be corrupt, and they can make really bad choices, like we're seeing in the world right now, with money and devaluing it and not understanding it and all that stuff. So people that do understand money came up with the Bitcoin thing a little bit, where they're like, okay, there's only this many Bitcoins forever. And that helps against inflation, just like kind of like the gold standard would, kind of, but better in some sense. So, but obviously we see Bitcoin go up and down because it's not part of our culture in the way that we can really use it. And we don't want money like that. The one thing for the reasonableness party is we want what's called sound money. We want the money something that we can rely on. Natural inflation isn't a thing. Like people always talk about, it's just adjusted for inflation. It's like adjusted for terrible decisions from your government and a tax on the poor by the government for the last 100 years. That's what inflation is. It doesn't need to exist forever. And so if we have a sound money, I like the idea of decentralizing money. So I don't know if it's Bitcoin, but I know that digital currency is absolutely the future. It's better for individuals, and it's what a hedge against corruption, against governments. And that's why I think the people that push against it the most have a tendency to be people that like government solutions for things, and they want to keep the Federal Reserve in charge and all that stuff. But there's my spiel.
I think it's also a tool, though, digital currency. I mean, I think it's also a tool that can be used by large government players in the world, and it could be instead of decentralizing everything, it could be the centralizing factor that, you know what I mean? Like, and that's the danger that I kind of see in it, because the people that are running these governments aren't stupid enough to not see what the appeal to a digital currency.
Well, they're starting digital currencies in some of these countries.
Well, so here's the thing. This is current events, and it's troublesome, but apparently China and Russia have been pooling their reasons behind closed doors to buy up as much gold as they possibly can. According to several sources, which you decide for yourself how reputable they are. You can go look it up. But I don't know what it would profit them to lie about it necessarily. But there's between the two of them, they've got more gold by far than any other country in the world, the U.S. included, which we were the leader and still are on paper.
On paper, yeah.
But I don't think that that's the case. And they're very recently being vocal about they want to create a one world digital currency that's actually backed by gold. So they want a digital currency that's backed by the gold standard.
I like that. That sounds interesting.
It sounds interesting, except for it's China and Russia that are doing it.
Yeah. Well, the thing that happens to the United States because we're the fiat currency right now, meaning they use our currency to trade for major things like energy and weapons and shit like that. We're the currency of choice. We've been that way since World War II. Basically, the United States monetary system was exported around the world, and that was our main export. And now, China is really actually pretty good at economics. They understand a few things seemingly better than we do. They're the ones that we owe a lot of our money to, and they've put themselves in a position to really kind of tackle us. Because if that happens, all of the things that the United States kind of really... Our money and our military are the two things that kind of give the United States what it has, and kind of gives the balance to whatever silly world that we have. That's that balance. Fiat currency would, especially for Americans, a lot of our bills would become due. A lot of weird things would happen here. It would totally. It's a good move geopolitically to do that.
Yeah.
So
doesn't spell happy times for our country, unfortunately, if they pull it off. But I don't know, man. I think they could. Because that's sort of that has to be the end game, right? They're basically planning to declare war on the U.S. dollar, which makes sense. Yeah, like you said, geopolitically, it makes perfect sense. Yeah. But that would be pretty gnarly, because I feel like they'd probably wait. If it was me in their shoes, I would wait for the U.S. dollar to have its natural boom that it's probably going to have after all the bullshit that we've done to it over the last few years. But I would wait for it to start coming into its boom again, and then I go
off, gimme.
And now we've got something better.
Yeah.
See ya.
Yeah. That having it, the one mistake that I don't want to see happen is having a digital currency and having it be centralized. The whole point of it is the blockchain is giving you control over your money, so there's no middleman. You can trade with anybody in the world for the rates that you want, and that does lead to black market shit and all that other stuff. But whatever, for normal people, it takes the government's power out quite a bit. And so a China thing that wouldn't mean as much if most of us were trading in a solid, sound digital currency.
Well, that would be a way to put a kind of a hopeful spin on it, and maybe bring us closer to what the reasonablest stance on it would be is, yes, digital currency, but not at the cost of centralization, and to put the hopeful spin I was talking about, if China and Russia are I think they're called the bloc, it's or BRIC, it's Brazil, Russia, India, anyway, I don't know, it's something I read about. Yeah, you should check that out. But anyway, if they pulled this move, we could collectively, if there was enough of us, we could collectively go, fuck gold. Who cares about gold? You know, like we're gonna have our own finite resource that's also digital, perhaps, or whatever, that's backing our version of digital currency, but ours is decentralized and it's in everybody's hands, and that's gonna and there could very well be a surge in that, just in response to somebody like China and Russia trying to pull that shit. You know,
it's gonna be an interesting kind of Wild West scenario for currency over the next 50 years or so, because we are going to be having the argument over between digital currency, and we're having it now. Some people just hate Bitcoin. They're like, fucking, it's because of the people that you know, some of the people that like Bitcoin, they're like, fuck those people. You know what I mean? It's a lot of libertarians can be kind of cunty with you know,
it's so silly though, because they're like, oh, you know, just because it's digital, it's susceptible to the, you know, pump and dump bullshit that people do all the time. And I'm like, so is our currency. Like, you haven't paid any attention to the stock market antics ever? Like, what are you talking about? That's just a byproduct of having a currency system and also having shitty people involved. It's never going to go away.
I've spent a lot of time listening to, I would say, experts on Bitcoin and economics and experts on the gold standard and economics. And it's a fascinating conversation because, I mean, we don't really know. I mean, this is all make-believe stuff. Money is a useful tool, but it's kind of make-believe on some level. So
it is. It's something you have to choose to. It's an agreed-upon social contract. It only has the value that we assign to it.
So let's take this one step further for the reasonableness party.
Which then, for whatever reason, gives people the value in their life.
Yeah, which is weird. So there's this other thing that, you know, I always kind of get bored with the debate between capitalism and socialism / communism, because it gets it's just a 19th century argument that they didn't know that we were going to have computers, and they didn't know that we were going to have systems that were phenomenal to get shipping from, you know, country to country around the world in days and all that stuff. They had no idea. And some of it does scale fine. I mean, capitalism can obviously do really well and all that stuff, but it doesn't seem fair to a lot of people. And I think that's a moral priority for people, and they're not going to lose that no matter how much information they learn. It's like, well, people are poorer than that guy, and that sucks. And so it's like, okay, that's fair. So the last few weeks I've been looking into other alternatives, and it took me back to a place. Some of you guys might know the Zeitgeist movie from back in the day, and it had like some serious, terrible 9/11 shit in it, and some questionable religious stuff in it too, for those of you that know religion real well. But in that series of films, his name's Peter Joseph, he introduced the idea of the Venus Project, and a guy named Jacques Fresco. And Jacques Fresco is a futurist. He just passed away, over 100 years old. Very fucking interesting man. Whether he's right or not, doesn't matter. He gets you out of your mind, out of your thinking, and makes you question stuff. But Buckminster Fuller, I think, is the main thinker that has what I'm about to say. But it's called a resource-based economy, and it's based around scientific and technical prowess. And the whole principle is that, and I like this a lot, this is one of the main things that I like, is that when we ask government to do things, we're asking them to solve technical problems, and none of them are technicians. None of them have the technical skills. You know, if we ask a congressperson to feed us, he doesn't know how trucks, shipping lines work. He doesn't know where the food comes from. He doesn't know anything about that. So we're asking them, these politicians, lawyers, you know, bureaucrats for life, to do technical problems. And he's like, that's stupid. So society in the future will tackle the technical problems through technical means, through science and through engineering and whatnot. So resource-based economy, the idea is, and this is like communism, where it can't be one country, it has to be the whole world to do this, but maybe you could do this in another country better than communism. But anyway, the idea is to declare the world's resources a common heritage of all. So, and then do an inventory of all the gold, all the coltan, all the silver, all the shit that we need on the planet that we know of, and then break it down mathematically. And it's, you know, this would be where a lot of weird stuff would come in, where people would debate about these kind of things, like, well, I like apples and I don't want apples, but you get 5 apples, but I need 20 apples for this party, and all these things. And you listen to people like Peter Joseph, and they get these questions over and over and over again. It's fun to listen to because lots of smart people have talked about this. And the idea, and basically, so they've solved for a lot of these problems in some level, to some satisfaction, I guess. But the idea is no money. And so we are basically, the whole idea of communism and a lot of these utopian ideas is to give people, take away the anxiety, take away the stressful jobs, take away the scarcity that causes us a lot of the anxiety and problems, and give people the basic necessities, access to the things that they want, like education and healthcare and these things, and see what kind of lives we live beyond the rat race and whatnot.
Yeah.
And I gotta tell you, that is fascinating, and it sounds lovely. And so I'm not, however pie in the sky it is, it's very interesting to me to see these intellectuals go there. But I'm not even sure my question to you guys, but a resource-based economy, like, how about this question? If you had all of your things taken care of in your life, Jeff, all your food, didn't even have to worry about it, home, schooling, healthcare, and all that stuff, would you just become lazy, or would you?
Well, you would take away about half of what I do, which is hunt and fish.
Right.
So there goes most of what I enjoy.
Well, maybe
because now there's not a
there's
purpose
no guarantee
for it.
that. Well, but there's maybe not a purpose for it. I think a lot of people are worried that you would lose your liberties when you. I certainly am. Whenever the central planning becomes a thing, it's like, okay, fuck. Now, how do we protect liberties? I want you to be free to do the things.
The government's in charge of the food that we eat enough. I don't really want them to continue to be in charge of more of what goes into my body.
Fair. Okay, this is what I'm bringing up, because to me, I am of the moral sensibility of a very libertarian-minded.
I think what I would be doing.
Right. I think we cooperate best by leaving each other, by not trying to affect each other as much morally, letting people kind of go to a certain point until they become obviously bad or obviously detrimental to people. This system can still do that too. Go ahead. You have
Back to the question though: would I become lazy?
Yeah.
Regarding what? Would I still continue to work out and do the activities that I do? Yes, I would.
Okay.
But I mean, but then there's the professional side of life, the drive of life to succeed and achieve in some of these the platforms that we've put within our society. If you take that drive away, yeah, people aren't gonna live as long, I don't think.
Well, I think the idea is that you would. I think the utopian idea is that we would stop thinking about these mundane things and about our scarcity and how we have to deal with day to day, and we'd start thinking about poetry and philosophy, and we'd become, opera fans. I don't know. I'm not sure.
You need a consistent balance of joy and stress. You need them both. They are both equally important.
Well, without the work life, we could probably get that still, because our ancestors had to work way differently than we have to now, and we still have. They overcame challenges, and they might have said the same thing. It's like, oh, now you got these weird specified, specific things, and that's going to screw you up for.
I guess
overall.
I would still do a podcast and try to influence people to do more. I guess
read
a
more
lot
poetry.
of it falls into government and finance, what we talk about. But I mean, just go do more in life, go experience things. I guess.
Would you be lazy? Would you just be like, fuck, I don't need to do anything?
No, I mean, what are you talking? I don't work now. What are you talking about?
You're not lazy though. That's the thing.
I don't think I have it in me to be idle for very long. I have too much drive to do and to create. So I don't. Even if I had my basic needs met to where I didn't really have to think about it, I would be like, okay, well, basic's all well and good, but basic isn't enough to satisfy me. I want more. I want to do more. I want to be more. I want to accomplish more. I want to have more too. Fuck it,
Would it be better in a non-money based system? Your album, if you make an album, it goes out to free, and everybody can have it for free, kind of thing, and that's kind of cool.
It's kind of like now.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know.
Apparently, we're living in the world that you're discussing.
We're working our way over there.
And there's admittedly a romantic side of me that has survived the proverbial beating I've taken thus far in my life, and that is attracted to a system like that, towards like when they're talking in Star Trek, like we don't have money anymore, right. And it's like, and it is like, when you think about it, it is a little silly. That I think it was Michio Kaku. Yeah, he was talking about like the tiers of societies, and where it's like right now we're still basically a society of colonies fighting over minerals. Mm-hmm. Which, when you frame it like that, it's like, wow.
Thank you for breaking it down. We're idiots.
Dumb.
The reality.
Like, thank you.
The reality is, I guess I'm sitting here thinking it would take away people's jobs. It doesn't take away anybody's job. You still have to work. You just don't get paid for it now.
Yeah.
Now you have to do it for the good of all. No, nobody fucking thinks like that. That's ridiculous.
It's not a good incentive, no.
Yeah, I don't think so. I mean, I think
People do seem to need incentives.
I don't
They
think
really do.
where that falls apart is where it starts to border upon equality of outcome, which I think is deadening to the human spirit.
Yeah.
And it's not sustainable because of that fact. But I think that we could get to a point as a species where we don't have to be driven around things like currency necessarily in order to still have a drive to become better, to be better, to have more. You know, like you can. I think you can still have inequality and not have to be bound by a system where your worth is measured by numbers on a page.
Well,
I think there are things between those 2 points.
That is a huge societal problem. Is, you know, at the end of most people's lives, they publicly get, you know, displayed, whether it be, you know, usually somebody famous, I guess, but, you know, they get displayed on TVs and talking about what they left behind, the cars and the houses and the, you know, all this shit. I want to know what they are as a human being. I want to know people, you know, that I want to hear the good stories about them or the shitty stories or who they were as a human.
Their poop smelled so bad, even though they had 80 Rolls Royces, stunk up every bathroom. That guy.
I want to hear about people's moral value when they, you know.
It's a shallow thing to put such a high premium on,
and
wealth
not the value,
and money.
not the moral value of society. What was their moral value and their principles, and did they live by them?
Yeah.
Whether I agreed with them or not, if they lived by their morals and their principles, I'm going to give them respect.
It'd be so rad to have a baseball card at the end of your life. I did a skit about the ether right at the end. It's like it'd be really neat to see like statistics on like how often were you honest when you really needed to be, and it's like 42%. Shit, fuck me, you know, and all those things. And like how many days did I spend at a stoplight just waiting? All those things would be fun to see at the end of your life. Just do the math. I guess we could probably do it anyway.
How many hours did I spend putting pillows back on a goddamn bed? That's okay. That needs to be a.
You want to bring up some pillows on the bed? I got some stuff to say on that one too. Let's save that for a whole special.
We'll put that in our back pocket.
Do a special.
I think so. Before we leave this subject, I just want to point out an observation of mine that I think I'm correct about, and that's I'm always kind of game to try new systems, like new ideas for solving problems that we're facing, because I firmly believe that there is no reality in which we can erase our problems. I feel like the more problems you solve, the more new problems crop up to then be solved.
Mm-hmm.
Of course.
And I'm
It's always a
attracted
trade-off.
and I'm attracted to that. I like that. I'm like, cool, let's solve more problems so that we can have more problems to solve.
Yeah,
We're just
we
new
don't solve
problems to
we
solve.
don't
I'm
solve
tired of the
problems.
same old problems. I want new ones.
And hopefully lesser problems that you know.
I don't
we're
care.
trying
I
to do
don't
things
care.
better. Okay.
I prefer to have strife in life. I think it's a valuable thing to have, and I think inequality has to exist, and I think that struggle has to exist, and I think that injustice needs to exist. I think that there needs to, because that unifies people and creates progress. When there's some perceived injustice, and it doesn't necessarily have to be us doing it to each other. It'd be cool to evolve to where we're all on the same team and we're finding injustice somewhere else that we have to fight against, you know?
Right.
And
Let's declare war on God is what I'm saying, essentially.
And it seems that just like I said,
Or on Mars.
just like I
Either
said
one.
that there needs to be joy and stress. It's like when
I'm for that. Okay, let's see how
You're
this
like,
goes.
wait, can we really breeze by that?
No, we can't.
never mind.
I lost my train of thought too.
I've done it again.
Yes, you did.
I let all the air out of the room.
Well,
It's my marketable skill. It's on my resume. Actually.
Well, I mean, the idea of war on God, that's pretty dark. Weird shit, bro.
I learned it from Lucifer.
Lucifuge. I got one thing left on the money thing. So I brought I know Bitcoin still feels like too far in the future a little bit for a lot of people, and then resource-based economy sounds as ridiculous as my anarchy stuff, I think, for most people. And it's like, when the hell is that going to be implemented? 1,000 years? Well, so let's do something reasonable. Since we're going to have government and we're going to have dollar bills and we're used to the way the system is right now, here's one improvement that I would put to you guys for the reasonablest party. The Federal Reserve System is dumb.
Yep.
And it's probably the closest thing to actual fascism that we have.
Fractional reserve banking is trash.
All dumb.
So trash.
And the thing that I think we can fix right away, because they're going to do fractional reserve banking and ruin our currency forever, because that's just how governments get away. That's what they do. But we can do one thing that will help it so that we don't have the kind of ups and downs, the boom and bust cycles that we have, because that's really just people made. We can get rid of the Federal Reserve System and replace it with a computer, because all they're doing is setting interest rates and kind of doing math that they don't know. A lot of economists will say, most economists don't know how to predict tomorrow's stock market shit. So there's really not a lot of predictions that can be done. But one thing you can definitely predict is that people won't be able to be as good with actual numbers as a computer. And they will be less corrupt as well. And I'd rather deal with hackers than actual hacks. So that's a whole lot of shit that maybe I didn't explain well. But basically the Federal Reserve System, the 12 people that are in charge of it, who are private people and the heads of banks, and this is a government, quasi-government / private agency. Get rid of all that shit.
And replace it with Skynet. That's what you're saying.
Yes.
I see.
This is Milton Friedman's idea. Milton Friedman has a couple ideas that I thought were pretty good. This one is good, in my view. A computer would set the interest rates better. It would do some things. It would reduce a lot of the corruption and whatnot.
I agree that it would. I don't know that we're good enough with computers, though.
Yeah, isn't it only as good as the input for the most part in something like that? And we're not, or would it be an AI thing that ultimately gets smarter than us?
Well, it'll still be smarter than the people that are doing it. And it's really about the...
But like computers have to be maintained and things have to be tweaked unless it's a self-learning algorithm, which then becomes an AI situation, which is rife with its own issues at present.
For sure.
So it's like, or we have to patch software updates, and also there's the issue of it can't be network accessible, otherwise it's then subject to malware and cyber attacks, and like that's just a whole new fucking problem.
The problem
but then if it's not networked, then people have to run it, and who's running it?
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So
but if all the people are watching that, it's a little bit easier, because then we have hackers. We have that ability in the public, just the public people. We can hack the shit out of stuff, and I trust in that more than I trust, because what can we do to the 12 assholes that are in charge of this stuff? They're just making money for themselves. That's all they're doing. And they're devaluing our currency. I don't want to be conspiratorial. I don't know the inner workings of the Federal Reserve. Like it
seems pretty plain, though. Like
it does.
It doesn't take a genius to look at it and go, hey.
Yeah. So I would replace that, and that would help our money, because the problem is that we're chasing too many services with not enough, or we have too many dollars chasing not enough services. And that happens from people deciding little political things like, we're going to print more money and we're going to make this government look good, whichever party's in power. And it continually does these dumb things. If we have a computer in charge, I think we would have a little less of that, and we wouldn't have people that have agendas. The computer at least doesn't have an agenda. It has the agenda of the programmer, but we can audit that, I think, better, because we have a lot of savvy people just sitting around the world that aren't in government. And so to me, it seems a safer way to do things. But that's for money, I would do that. But in my best, the thing I would want the most is a digital currency that is decentralized, that we can all kind of be our own masters on some level. That's solid, that isn't something that it's going to go up $10,000 next year. I mean, getting it to be sound money is the whole point. That's why I don't like inflation in the government. So we can't have Bitcoin be that way either. But the best thing of all, I think, for me, would be resource.
Bitcoin could become that way when it actually hits its cap. You know what I mean? Like once it's all been produced, I think that it could achieve a level of market stability. I think it's just volatile because it's still in its infancy, And maybe it won't be Bitcoin. Maybe it'll be blockchain technology. I like blockchain technology because it lends itself to Web3 stuff, which I find super fascinating. Like integrating digital assets into our actual currency system seems cool, because it's sort of like the future version of having barter systems in line with an actual currency, like to where they're both tradable on the same platform in a sense, which is cool.
Widgets should deal with other widgets.
Yes.
Sometime in the future, because we're going to start doing some interviews, not necessarily real soon, but soon. We should talk to somebody about Bitcoin and I'd like to pick somebody's brain. I have somebody in mind. I wonder if they'd be on the podcast.
Hell yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah, it's far over my head. I mean, I get it, but I don't get it.
I've looked into this crap.
The problem
so
is I don't know all the
questions
questions to ask to know how much I grasp it even. So
fair. Same. Like with the resource-based economy sounds the best to me, in the sense that it is going to reduce some of the things. Like I'm curious to see how much of our lives, how much of our pain and whatever is natural human stuff, where it's just subjective, what's going to happen no matter what happens in our lives, whether you're rich or poor, or if this rat race that we all kind of agree that we live in if we were to alter the incentives of life, alter the scarcity, I think is the most thing, because everything is about scarcity. Like, not enough money, I've got not enough land, I got not enough food. It's, you know, we're competing for that. I wonder if we removed that, if it would be all bad, all good, what the bad would be, what the good would be, you know, what that would look like. It's fascinating to me.
Well, it's fascinating that people think that wealth creates happiness.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, who the fuck? I mean, what evidence is there of that, really?
Right. There's not
just because you can do cool shit doesn't make you a happy person.
I think you can. I think when you buy a nice car that you really like, I've heard a few rich people talk like this. I don't remember who it was, but they're like, yeah, you feel really good for a minute, because but money can't buy you happiness, but it can buy you cool shit and da.
Right.
But when you buy a new car, we've all bought a new car. It wears off pretty damn quick, you know. And it's
let's not.
And if you have a ton of money, it's not necessarily as important as if you bought a car when you had $10,000 and you bought it for $8. And that's all you had.
Well, let's not be juvenile or naive about it.
Holy
either.
shit! Fighting words.
Money's not just like the utility of money isn't just I bought a cool car. Fuck yeah.
Right.
Money's a tool.
Absolutely.
You can accomplish a lot with money that doesn't equate to look at this cool shit that I got that I can make the neighbors jealous of. You know, money you can create a platform with money that allows you to enact the change in the world that you want to create.
Sure.
You know, so like I don't think it's as simple as just being like, money just equals stuff and that equals happiness. Well, no, obviously not. We've proven that.
Sure.
Also not sure that happiness is the point anyway.
Also,
at the end of all
question.
things, I think fulfillment would be closer to the mark of what you're really looking for at the end of a day / life. But money can help you.
He just says he wants an orgasm.
Money
It's
is a
just
useful
orgasm.
money is a useful tool for engineering fulfillment. I think that's a fair statement.
How do you judge fulfillment if you don't have any stresses in life?
I don't know. I don't know.
Well, and on that I agree. I don't think the goal should be removing stresses from life, and I don't think you could. I think you would fail in the pursuit of that.
Absolutely,
naturally,
because
it's fun to think about, but I don't think
with anything that you think you're doing as a
achievable.
positive, it's going to have a negative. It's just a natural thing that occurs.
Well, you wouldn't
Like
even
I
be
said,
able to
solve
compare
problems
it.
to
You wouldn't
find
know
new
it's good
problems.
if they didn't know bad things. If you didn't know how bad something was, you wouldn't know how good something is, right?
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Utopia is just another word for dystopia.
Yeah, I like that sentence. I like that phrase. But you still want to reduce the amount of suffering that there is out there.
Yeah.
It's like,
there's a lot of value in reaching for utopia, even knowing that you're never going to actually grasp it.
yeah. So how about this? Like with the resource-based economy, I don't want to take away. Like I like people, hardworking people, and ingenuitive people, and people trying to invent things and stuff. But if we gave everybody, or if society was able to make it so it worked, that everybody had the basics for their life. You know, this is kind of like the plan for UBI, the Universal Basic Income,
Right.
and stuff. And this, you guys, whether you believe in this stuff or not,
They tried that in Canada.
did they?
Did you hear about that?
I know
a whole community that did
A
it.
few places have
Yeah.
tried that. So I think a Scandinavian country or two has tried it, and to see. I want to hear how they did and how it went. But the wind is telling us, the advertising on the walls of the earth is saying that society wants this, that's whether we want it or not, a lot of people want it. So I wonder, I mean, can you live with, would you just leave society if it became something like this? Or
Well, I kind of want to leave society. I mean,
anyway, I felt like that was kind of a weird question to ask Jeff. Jeff's like, I'm already packed, bro.
kind of hedging that
is
way
this a
anyway.
Shaden's like, I'm not far behind. I got my bug out bag and my
Right.
fucking 900-gallon gas tank.
Not a big fan of society in its current state either, if I'm being honest.
Nothing. It doesn't hurt.
It's not that I don't want society. You guys know that.
Yeah.
I like my alone time, but I don't want to be alone.
Yeah.
I just want a very, very small pocket of people.
But-
508 sounds about right.
So do you want to start a commune? Should we start a commune? You guys want to start a commune?
With 508 in a specific city.
508,
We gotta kick out a
population
bunch.
508. If we exceed that, somebody's got to die. It's either,
I'm
it's either
curious.
grandma or an abortion, I guess. I don't know. Whatever it takes.
Well, I think so.
These are the jokes,
So
people.
it's funny. So
or
Pierce, Idaho, the population sign has been 508 for the 30 years that I've been
Oh,
gone.
yes, that's
joke,
right.
yeah.
You talked about
Yeah.
that.
And what's
And he
funny
hasn't
is
filled out
every
his
time
census report yet.
I've gone up to my apartment for the last 6 months, there have been handwritten notes taped to my door that
Please
I have
fill out.
not filled out my census yet. So I am pretty. First off, I rent, but it's not a residence for me, so I'm not going to fill it out. And fuck you anyway. But
Right.
that's my attitude.
Right.
About,
Fuck you,
oh
government.
shit.
That's going to be
But
on
I'm
Jeff's
pretty
headstone
sure
when he
that
dies.
they are
Fuck you
waiting
anyway.
for
We'll
me
make sure of it.
to get the census done so they can change the sign. And that's it. That's why it's been there for 30 years. They're just waiting on me to get that done so they can change
Every
the
day,
census sign,
every
the
time you drive in
population.
there, you're like a reminder, like, nah, I'm not gonna.
Yeah.
So I want to know, like, what would be maybe the negative things if society, if everything was, if all the basics were taken care of, what do you guys see would be the negative? Or have we already covered it? You know, people would lose their competitive nature or something. What do you guys see if nobody had to worry about their next meal, a house, their health care, and going into debt for...
We'd all act like
any of that stuff?
13-year-olds
You think so?
again.
Is that bad?
No, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know
Well,
either. I mean,
I don't know
nobody
that,
knows.
I don't know that the data shows that, because like we were saying, they did try it, and I mean, granted, it was like, you know, what you do in a focus group can't really extrapolate
No.
to the you know.
Why do a lot of
macro,
people
you know,
kill
but-
themselves? Because they don't have purpose in
Yeah.
life. They feel they don't have purpose in life. I think that creating an environment like that is going to make more people feel that they don't have a purpose in life, and you'll have higher suicide rates.
Yeah, but a lot of people don't like the purpose that they maybe have. You know, it's like, well, I'm washing dishes tonight. If I'm washing dishes for this next year or two. That's what my future is like.
I mean, manufactured purpose also ends lives too. To be fair, so
Yeah.
then it's just a well, which one
And
is
wouldn't-
better or worse in the net scheme of things?
Part of the resource-based economy, the only reason we can do this is because of computers and technology. So eventually there won't... I want all the dangerous jobs that can kill people, that can make it so kids don't have parents and stuff, to be automated if they can. I think that's a wonderful goal. And so eventually we're going to be... we're going to be basically like busy work for people, and I don't think that's good. So I mean, almost technology is going to take
So
away
you
the
don't want
jobs
people
anyway.
leaving home and risking going and getting hit.
No, I want them to go out and risk doing other things. Like, just because things are set the way they are doesn't mean that's the way they'll be in the future. So even if all the technology is taken care of for all the dangerous jobs, there'll still be new things that humans will want to do and new tasks. I don't think people will just... I don't think there's been a time in history that human beings have been idle, where they just sat and were like, eh.
But I also don't think that humans don't have a hard time valuing things anyway. I think that if nothing had value to it, so to speak,
I agree with that.
that they would destroy it. I mean
Fuck.
that's why you can't go anywhere or do anything without having to pay a price now. It's because some cocksucker fucked it up for everybody.
Yeah.
They went and destroyed shit. Now they got to pay people to take care of that stuff. It's like it doesn't take a lot of assholes to ruin it for everybody, you know. But that's it. It's an inherent trait in a lot of human beings. It's just, well, it's not mine, so I don't give a fuck.
Yeah. That's
know?
the biggest problem with the RBE, the resource-based economy. It's like, how do you account for prices? Prices are so valuable. They're such a... I mean, if you don't want resources to go away, prices are what protects those things. Like the high prices will keep it
things
from
need to
being...
have an assigned value.
They really do.
You know?
And so this would probably remove that as far as money-wise, but that doesn't mean it won't have some sort of value in some other way that people have come up with, as far as like, it's got a 5 rating. So the 5 rating is something that you really have to have. I really don't know, but I like the idea of the thinkers thinking about it, because
I don't have a problem with people thinking of new ideas and things to help other people. That's okay.
Yeah.
But you know, we're kind of assigning ourselves to what would the problems be with that, or how can they work? And you know why we don't have a new system to what we have? Because it's fucking hard to think of one.
Yeah.
That's actually going to work, especially when you have now.
it's also hard to change from a system
Population
that you already
that we
have.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's once you have the thing about government too is that once you open Pandora's box, there is no way to get rid of government. Like, it is revolution, and revolutions fucking name a revolution that did good. The United States, I guess, we got lucky as fuck.
Yeah, kind of.
Most revolution, yeah, exactly. Depends on who you're talking to, for sure.
Right.
Well,
But
and even
most
when the
revolutions are
Constitution
awful.
was read, and they're like, this will work for a while.
Right. Yeah, if you can keep it, it's a
Yeah.
republic. If you can keep it, yeah. All right.
Yeah, I think there needs to, no matter what the system looks like, there needs to always be something that's worth reaching for that you don't have by default.
Right.
You know what I mean? Which is where, and this is a new idea to me. The resource-based economy.
Right.
I mean, it's not the premise of it isn't new to me, but you saying that it's been so thoroughly thought out and discussed, I haven't encountered that, so I can't really speak to it too much beyond what you've told me and my own intuition. But
Yeah.
the part where it seems to break down to me the most is kind of what you're saying, Jeff, where it's like, okay, so if everything's already provided for, then what's the point of reaching for something? You know, like where does the drive and the struggle come from?
I think a lot of,
but I think in having conversations about like universal basic income, where it's like give people, I think we are at a point where we could probably, and maybe I'm fucking up my ass about this, but if we're entertaining ideas,
no stupid questions.
If we're entertaining ideas, I feel that we could probably engineer a way to give everybody just the very basics of what they need to survive.
What is that?
Which is, you know,
food, shelter,
basic shelter, food and water and access
medicine.
to electricity.
I'm not trying
whatever,
to chop
you know?
you up seriously, but what is basic shelter? Are we talking homes? Are we talking tents?
I think like sustainable, livable shelter that it wouldn't degrade your health to live in year round. Wherever
apartment at the least.
And we're gonna whether it's a 10-person family or a 2-person family, we're going to accommodate that.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean just for argument's sake, you know, but keep the threshold at, you know, and it would take some engineering to be like, you know, well, this situation merits this solution and blah blah blah, and you know, it's not going to just be a one size fits all thing, but then that still and everything beyond that you have to work your ass off for, same as you do now. You know what I mean? So
are we comes in?
Were we what?
Is this where that one strip city comes in you talked about?
The line.
Yeah, I guess well, I don't know. They didn't say things were going to be free. Like it's probably going to be really expensive to live in that thing, you know. But
no, I don't like the idea of things being free. I really don't. I'm okay with helping people with basics as far as that, you know, your flour, rice, you know, some foods. So like here, at least you're not going to die. Like, you know,
I think you're right. Having
some basics like that, I'm okay with helping people, but the idea of taking value away from everything, essentially, in what we're talking about, that's what we're doing. I think that sets a terrible precedence.
It does,
and I think it's going to lead to devastation of humankind.
But there's two ways to get to this. We could just decide to do this, which is not going to happen. But technology can make this happen. Technology makes government obsolete all the time. All the time. It's the best revolution against government that there is. And so eventually, like, it's cost effectiveness too. Like these dangerous jobs that do pay high, you know, the highest jobs, they're going to go away when things become automated because there's a need for it. There are people out there that see that this is costing this company $100 million a year. I can make a machine to do that. It's happened in most industries. So eventually we're going to need a system. This is where you get the UBI from, because this is Andrew Yang, where he's like, you guys, automation is going to get rid of a lot of the jobs that are the backbone of the middle class, just period. So we kind of have to think about what's going to happen when that happens. Anyway, so whether or not we want this to happen, there's going to be some semblance of a need for it.
Here's something I agree with you on. As far, not that I disagree with you necessarily. I'm just trying to understand.
I'm just trying to throw this out there. Yeah, I don't know what I think.
But you know, so like
I don't know yet.
You know, you go through the grocery stores, and it's kind of funny now. There's some supply chain issues. It's not that anymore, but there's still vegetables to be bought, and meat. You know, how much meat goes bad? How much vegetables go bad? How much produce goes bad? That maybe there's a way to be able to better dial in how much is actually needed for certain areas to be purchased.
That sounds like resource bait.
Well, I mean, even when I bear hunt, if people don't know, I bait bears. I go to Fran's and I give them $25 and they fill the back of my truck with bread that's all expired. It can't be for human consumption because of the USDA stuff, but I eat it anyway because you know, they give me fruit pies for the bears, but I eat them all myself. That's not true. I don't. Anyway, so I mean, I think you look at all the food that just gets wasted. If you could get a better dial on what actually needs to be shipped out for the locations, then you wouldn't be going through so much food to begin with.
Yeah. That would be a benefit of this society, because I think
how many people could I feed with a truckload of bread just downtown Spokane in a day?
Right.
And we, you know, go to
bring some peanut butter and jelly, and you got,
you know, I mean, a truckload of bread would feed everybody at Camp Hope for a day.
Yeah, it would.
You know.
Yeah. I like the idea. I mean, from what I've understood, and I haven't delved into this for a lot of years, and I've forgotten most of the things I learned, but, basically ordering your, before you need it, kind of just your grocery thing. Like, I need 8 apples, I need this bread, da-da-da-da. You do it beforehand, and the computer is taking care of all of this, and it's matching trends, and it's predicting things. Like, the grocery stores do that, and they do a good job, but there's also a lot of waste. This would be perhaps a way to reduce that waste by quite a bit if you're ordering what you want, and that's...
And this is more, for me, this is more towards the perishable types of waste that we have that could be used, resourcefully. But we could find a better resource to distribute it better, I think.
I think so too. We definitely can we're doing great, but we could definitely do better. So
I don't know. It just seems like I'm trying to figure out where the incentive comes from in a system like that.
It does seem like you have to be a self-starter to really survive.
Well, but for what? What do you do?
For your philosophy, for your art, art is one of those things. Learning science is still going to be important. They're just not going to stop. They don't know everything because of the resource-based economy. They're just giving you food and shelter.
But so
I would still you can still start businesses. You can still be a restaurateur. You can still have a trucking company. You can still maybe not that one. That might be a bad example. But I don't know.
But for what? Like, if there's no money, for what? Why are you doing it? For self-gratification?
You know what? That is the number one reason.
How do you measure your success?
The free market is for those incentives. Yeah.
Like, that's the part that I'm like, I don't know, man. I don't see that. Like that's where I guess I'm leaning more towards Jeff's side of the table. Not that we're fucking opponents of this shit. We're just kind of kicking it around. But in the context of this conversation, I'm leaning more towards like, well, there needs to be something like I don't think it's wise to try and get rid of all scarcity. I think it'd be great to get rid of engineered scarcity because I think that shit sucks.
It is our natural instinct to try to survive. Would you agree with that?
100%. Yep. Everything's
within society. We survive a different way. We survive by learning in jobs and
the Western world does,
and buying the things that we do so we can have hot water and homes and heat and all that crap. So if you take that drive away to have to even get those things, I think that it just creates a hazard for people there's no reason for them to continue.
Is it relative
or to do anything?
Because is it like how our anxiety comes from our ancestors being afraid of fucking saber-toothed tigers and shit, and we still have that same anxiety, and we've just changed it over time. Wouldn't we just change our ambitions? Would change. It's like, all right, now let's be a multi-planet species. Fuck all this shit where I'm just trying to figure out how a mortgage works. Now let's spend some time. This guy that would have been working at Albertsons now has time to work on a fucking space rocket because that's what he wanted to do in the first place, but he didn't have connections. He didn't have the great grades. He just can, but he couldn't prove it. Mm-hmm. I feel like those kind of things, human beings are fucking fascinating. But our brains do all sorts of crazy shit in the weirdest circumstances. There's people out there with full-time jobs that are doing things where it's like, how do you have enough time in the day to do all this? So I feel like we'll never lose that. I don't think it's I like the incentive of the free market for sure, because that's why communism kind of seems to fail on paper, even where it's like, but you're going to envy stuff, and you're going to, the incentives are what drive things for good. You know what I mean? Like people wanting to make their life better by making a widget makes all of our lives better because we have the widget now.
So you're thinking that incentives would just evolve in the absence of our current engineered incentives? Like our new incentive would be, well, how do we go further than this?
Right. I guess the only incentive you would have then is popularity for creating an object that everybody wants. A clap and a handshake and thank you.
I don't know. What would society be like if you weren't given a bunch of money and admiration? It was only admiration. I don't know. Yeah. This isn't my idea, and I'm not really for it. But I do like the idea of people. I mean, just think about the stratification. Like we're all middle class people. There's a lot of people that are struggling that see no light at the end of the tunnel. They're like, fuck, if I could just have a couple extra $1,000 a year. Or, if I could just pay this thing off, I'd be fine. If this one bill or whatever. And I wonder, because our society's not really...
You'd create new bills.
Yeah. But we're not running off supply and demand, so people are right to look at it's like, I can't afford a house for 1,000 years. Now, because, the government and these private businesses have decided to fuck our economy in a weird way. Yeah. So I don't know. I want to protect... I would like to see a safety net be the smartest possible, the most scientific safety net possible. I think that's the future that we kind of, I don't know, we not deserve, but it's the one that we should probably have in our mind's eye. It's like we can make it better without sacrificing the incentives of, innovation and competition and all that stuff. I don't know.
Okay, so maybe the reasonableness party believes in our own country first.
Yeah, maybe.
Okay.
I don't know.
Try and take care of our own shit.
I don't know.
Figure out some of our own systems first.
I mean,
it seems like if we work together as a planet,
our
we
own
get further.
society should be our priority. I
from
think
that.
for sure. I mean, as far as countries and whatever, however you want to draw those lines, but I think if we're trying to engineer our own society, then our society should be our top priority.
For sure.
Like not to the exclusion of every other thing that exists, but
I do think it is to our detriment that we don't see each other as like it would be better if we were fighting aliens, because because if we decided, honestly, communism, the reason why a lot of people have major problems with it, besides the crap that is just kind of natural, it's like it can never be tried because the whole world has to do it. That's really the point of Marxism. It's like the workers of the world unite. We all need to fucking do this, otherwise it's just going to be a couple countries with dictators and really weird systems. So I think we do lose out that we don't see each other as a common people. But I also fucking understand. I only like the circle of people in this house and 10 other people more, that I know in my life. Like, I'm not a big, hands across America person.
It would take something pretty.
And I like you listeners.
It would take something pretty dire to bring unification to our species on some level. You know, we'd have to have some huge common enemy, whether that's a fucking asteroid hurtling towards our planet that's going to end us all, or an alien invasion that wasn't maybe so friendly, or what we wanted to see, or something it's just going to have to be something larger than all of us.
Ronald Reagan, in front of the UN, I believe, had a speech where he's like, maybe one day we'd have an alien enemy from outer space that would unite us. And it's like, what the fuck do you know? Do you tell us what you know, Reagan? Tell us what you know. Us tinfoil hatters are we're squeezed in our brain over that. Yeah. All right, I think we've talked about money. We've got lots of stuff that we solved
approximately nothing. The usual. I like
for
it.
Sure.
Well done, boys.
I would, if you guys are interested, check out the Venus Project, and if you have something to say about it, that'd be great. His name is Jacques Fresco. An interesting cat, and it's not something you'll get 10 minutes.
I like Frescas.
I like them too. Fresca's delicious. It's the grapefruit juice.
Pamplemousse juice in Canada.
All right, so we're going to do our... Is that what it is?
Yep.
Ew.
It's the French version.
Ew.
That's how you say grapefruit juice in French.
Say it again.
Pamplemousse juice.
Okay, that is kind of cool, actually.
Sketchy.
What's it up with... There's so much moose shit going on in Canada.
Well, it's more like moose. It's more like moose, like pie kind of mousse, not the
I
one
know, but it's just the two words are the same. All right, but fair enough. Fuck this, yay this. We're going to do a fuck this time, and this is Shaiden, and this is blindly trusting institutions. Fuck those things.
Oh.
Do you remember?
Yeah, I do. It's
you're like,
I was all wound up about it. I still feel valid, but I've calmed down a little bit since I brought it up. But I think that I just find it strange, I guess, and irritating that we collectively, because I've fallen prey to this myself, but we collectively, if something is put to us, some sort of claim, and then it's brought to you by or backed by insert organization here, like an acronym, pick an acronym. You might not even recognize what the acronym is, like NASA maybe, but they're pretty benign, I guess.
Yeah, you've seen NAMBLA. Don't
that one. I think that one's pretty much lost its credibility.
I hope so.
At least I hope so. But we're not. You know what I mean? Like it's like NIAID. You guys know what that is?
I'm not sure I could.
I only know of it because of COVID. That was the National Institute of Ass in Dicks. I don't know. I fucking see. I can't remember.
Right.
But they were like part of the authority that we were listening to on the origin of COVID, and they were like sort of running that investigation, but turns out also funding the lab in Wuhan or some shit. There was some big deal, some controversy, but before that, people were just like, well, they're the National Institute of whatever fucking acronym that has to do with health, so they obviously know, so we'll just trust what they say.
Right.
And it's just like, why? Like, why is that? Why? Like, what clever conditioning has been used on us for us to go, oh, it's got an acronym. Never heard of it, but must be right.
Yep.
Why? Fuck that. Stop doing that.
CDC, like,
Yeah.
Yes,
Well, I think it's the
exactly.
same thing as like I can't remember his name now, but it's like woo-woo words where some of the kind of like spiritual guys of the new age of
I'm the Grand Poobah.
they'll say things. Yeah, exactly. They'll say things that sound scientific, and they sound it's like the quantum spiritual flow of the essence.
Interplanar alignment of
Yeah.
the ass cheeks.
And and to a person that's had 5 seconds of scientific training or any understanding, and got a B in 4th grade math or science or whatever, they're like, that sounds fair.
Yeah,
that sounds good.
As long as it's multisyllabic and complicated.
Exactly. That's a lot of work. That guy obviously sounds like he knows what he's talking. He knows what a quantum schmaggity is, and that's important. So I wonder if it's a similar.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's got to be in that same category.
Well-
but like I guess to zero in on it, my fuck that thing is fuck that behavior. Try to break out of that.
Well, look at
I'm
anybody
trying
with
to.
doctor.
It's argument of authority.
You throw doctor in front of somebody's name. I mean, it could be a physician, but if he's talking about race cars, people tend to listen to him more because he's a doctor.
Right.
It's why.
That's ridiculous. Most people only have one expertise at best, maybe two in their
Unless
life.
it's Dr. NASCAR. He knows all about the racing.
Fair. He has his degree and he's also good at racing. Those are his two things. But if you ask him about, a satellite dish, he's not going to know about that. It is funny because a lot of people that are experts in some weird field will see them as experts at politics because they got, a Nobel Prize in some field that doesn't have to do with
What are
politics.
the silly assumptions? And I only bring that up because everybody assumed that I was some kind of gun nut just because I was in law enforcement.
Right, yeah.
And they'd want to show off about all the guns they have. And I'm just like, dude, I honestly, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. I own a couple guns.
Yeah.
That's it.
Unless it's a gun that I carried for hunting or my job.
None of which I've chosen to masturbate to like you apparently do.
Right. Yeah, so I guess just fuck that behavior, and it kind of ties into approach everything, which we talked about before. Approach everything with a healthy degree of skepticism. Like just whenever you're presented with information and they're just like, this is backed by this, or this institute decided this, or this company that has this apparent, just look at it and I try to condition yourself to be like, your first knee-jerk reaction is to, well, who are they and who funds them, and why should I listen to them? That should always be where your brain goes, and it's hard to break out of that. Like sometimes I'm just like, okay, well, I don't have time to look into that, and that is their job, so I guess they probably know about it.
Yeah.
So it's like it's easy to just get lazy and fall into that. But I'm encouraging all you guys and us as well to fucking stop doing that. Like don't trust something just because it's presented to you by somebody who apparently, some organization that apparently knows more about it than you do. Go check them out and see who the fuck they are.
I got a couple things on this one. Like when I worked for TimeSuck, we did the Ninth Circle cult. And the Ninth Circle cult was developed basically online by this exact thing, where a guy came up with, he called himself the International World Court of this and that. And it sounded very professional, and he had a nice logo and a nice, business card, I imagine, and all that good shit. And he started this thing where basically he said, that this court had found them, queens and princes and shit guilty of eating babies or some shit like that. And it's been verified by the trilateral court of this guy's house. And it was just
Probably
Todd's
true, though, let's be
website.
honest.
Yeah, fair enough. I wouldn't be surprised if somebody said that. And it's like, oh, it was true. It's like, yeah, they look like they eat kids. I don't know.
Weird.
They don't seem like they like us. But it was just some guy's website. And I don't know if Dan went with the jokes that I threw in there, but it was basically like, it's Todd's website. Todd's website says that that this is confirmed. So this is, blah, blah, blah. And I don't know, but that was
He pays $14.95 a month for GoDaddy hosting. He's obviously
expert court, and they were actually like a court. That was the other thing. They were like a court system. So, and it was just some guy making up, So I'd look into that. The second one, and this one will be kind of controversial to some folks that are listening, but I just have a problem with this group, and you can call me a cunt for however you want. But the SPLC, the Southern Poverty Law Center, I believe that they had a good mission at the beginning. Very much so. I'm supportive of all that stuff. But it seems like, we've had run-ins with them in the past with our band, because our band name is stupid, and my bad. Sovereign Citizens are stupid. But I came up with that name independently of Sovereign Citizen. I thought it was like Marilyn Manson, pretty and ugly, and oxymoron, whatever. But that got us on the radar of the SPLC, because their job is to find hate. and their job is to find hate. So if they're getting paid and they have hundreds of millions of dollars because
I hate lots of things, so they came looking in the right direction.
Right.
I'm
But
full of hate.
They thought
I'm
that
a
we
Sith.
might be. Yeah, you are a Sith, a shit lord. If you move the words, the letters around. But they thought that Sovereign Citizen and the nonprofits might be some hateful, or we might be putting racist things in our. Because I think Sovereign Citizens are both anti-cop, and I think there was some racial stuff in there. And so when I heard that, I was like,
government in general.
yeah, very much. Well, they're. It kind of fits some of my mentality if you think about it. You're like, he is a sovereign citizen. It's like, no, I'm not. I'm not.
Ken vouch. He's not.
But I'll finish
He's
the
more
story.
like a puppy.
Yeah, I want what's best for everybody, but I don't think I know what it is. That's all. But the SPLC, then the person that contacted us, very nice, but very accusatory from the get-go. I'll say the end of the story. They became a fan of our band, so that's good. So,
Happy ending.
Yeah, that was nice. But
And we still changed our name.
We did change our name,
which is probably for the best.
Yeah, and I feel I don't like doing that kind of stuff, but I also don't. There's no real reason to give people. I hate having this conversation, basically.
Yeah.
But the SPLC, I don't know. I mean, I think they're people that are all trying to do the best they can, and they have good intentions and stuff. But they're looking for problems.
There's probably some fuckers in there, like every organization.
Oh yeah,
right?
for sure. But I think that I don't know. It was just a weird experience with them, where it was like I had to look into them more, and I had to see like, okay, who are you people?
Yeah.
Are you government people? Are you scientists? How are you?
How much trouble do I stand to get in if I disagree with your
Yeah, right.
claims?
It's like, I know I have to write a nice letter back and be like, and just tell the truth. It's like, we're not interested in race and this stuff. I am anti-government, but not in any kind of fucking dangerous way. I'm not throwing Molotov cocktails in my life. But it was, I had to stick up for our band not being hateful pieces of shit. And it's like, where did this come from?
Yeah,
we chose
which is
a
weird,
title.
because if you meet any of us, it's like,
The
they're
opposite of that.
so nice.
we pride ourselves in being the band that will.
Perhaps too nice sometimes.
Yeah. But it was, I had this conversation a couple times with them, and it was kind of emails back and forth, and it was, accusatory questions like, do you believe in this? What's your thoughts on that? And it's like, who are you?
Yeah.
And why you're coming at me like
Why
you
are
have
you
a moral
running around
superiority?
opening people's proverbial closets looking for skeletons
Yeah,
when
exactly.
they have exhibited no behavior?
Exactly. Well, this reminds me of a thing. Like, we have a song on our first album called Virtue Signals. And that is a trigger word now in American and Western politics, because it means something. The people on the right call it out on the people on the left a lot. That's kind of what happens. I wrote that song well before I knew anything about that kind of shit. I knew what it was, but I've said it here before. It's like a company spending $10 million to tell the world through a marketing campaign that they spent $10,000 to buy a bunch of kids in a classroom some erasers and pencils.
Right.
That's virtue signaling at the worst. That's why I wrote that song about. And we have friends in our camp when this ideological call to to arms, people decided to ideological up. And they're like, that song that you sing, Virtue Signals, is what fascists say. And I was like, okay.
Yeah.
Do I seem like a fascist to you? Is that what you're saying?
I had a friend, was a close friend of many years. And I told you about this when it happened, but I got kind of like publicly tarred and feathered and kicked to the curb, and that was one of the things that they brought up, was that
you didn't even write
my
this.
lap. I know, I was like, what?
Zach wrote that song. He's the fascist.
But yeah, I mean, I stand by it. It's a good fucking song. But they were saying that it was like full of like hateful rhetoric, and I was like, no, it's not.
Not even
go
a bit.
read the lyrics. It's just us saying, hey, this is a cringy thing that people do, and don't be cringy.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with your hair color or your blue and
or
red
your ideology or
ideologies.
anything. Yeah.
It's,
So that's how long did you go back and forth with that person before they were finally like, okay,
not too
we're
bad.
cool?
It wasn't too bad. It was actually kind of like a thing, because it was 2016 or so, or it was have to be after 16, so 17 or so, and it was a weird time in the country. So it was kind of like, I sent the email and then I waited a day kind of thing, and then they sent it back. But I was kind of like biting my nails, like, I don't want to be on their list because I came up with a dumb name when I was a kid.
I remember you were stressing out about it at the time.
Because at the same time, we were called out by kind of a fixture in Seattle. He was a bass player for some band, and he's very much get in people's business and cause trouble where there might not be some. But he
somebody that we never met.
Yeah, somebody that doesn't know us at all. And he's like, you need to change your name. That's why I had a hard time changing the name this time. I'm like,
'Cause you're all
don't tell me.
contrary.
Yeah, don't tell me what to do. I'm going to be bad. I'm sorry. I'm going to disappoint you.
Even if it's what I should do.
I know.
As soon as you tell me that I have to,
There's at least a piece
fuck
of me
you on
that's like, yeah,
principle.
I'm flipping you off if I'm doing the thing you told me to do. That's for sure what's happening.
Jeff doesn't know anything about that.
Absolutely.
But this guy called us out for the same thing. And it all comes back down to what you started this with, where it's the SPLC. Who are these people and why do they have some sort of power over us? And I don't care what you think, left, right, I don't care. The SPLC doesn't seem like it's a super valuable thing anymore. Like it seems like they're looking for problems that don't exist more than they're solving problems.
Yeah.
And it seems like it's just a big place for people to, once again, virtue signal. It's like, well, the SPLC says they're terrible, and I think they're terrible too, and so there they are. And it's like you have no recourse. That was a scary thing, because if for some reason this random person that has zero scientific backing, zero psychological understanding, zero knowledge of us, never read a lyric, if they just decided to put us on the hate list,
Yeah, you're done.
It's
at
over.
that point.
Yeah, I have, for the rest of my life, I have to be like, no, I like people. I'm a fan of good.
Yeah.
I don't hate women or gays or, I use a term like gays. That's a hateful word. Now your SPLCs just come over here.
The gays.
All of the things. And so it was just this weird situation where it's like, just because I came up with a name that I thought was kind of, Marilyn
Clever.
Manson. I thought it was kind of clever. And I thought with adding the non-profits in there, they'd be like, oh, that's a whole
I
other
remember
silly
when you
thing.
added
Wow.
that, and I'm like, what the fuck do you add that for?
That's
To throw him off my trail, I'm an evil cunt.
well, that's just operating on the assumption that your average person is going to look at something for longer than a second and give it some thought, which is true perhaps of our audience, but
Yes. Our audience
but
tends
not,
to be the
not
smarties.
everybody.
Got some smarties. So, yeah, I mean, be careful of putting too much faith in something that just has a history of having an acronym or, letters.
Yeah,
that
if
mean
you
something.
hear an
AT&T.
acronym and you don't know what it stands for, automatically don't trust them. If you look it up and you find out what it stands for and you don't know what it means, still continue to not trust them.
Yes. And if you don't like me because I don't think the SPLC is as great as they think they are, as great as the media would tell us. They just seem like a way for a certain political bend to kind of shut people down as far as talking about anything outside of a particular ideology. That's what it seems like to me. And I might be an idiot, but they came at me nicely, but it was also with the threat of, I can ruin your life and you have no recourse. And it's like, who the fuck are you? So, and who the fuck am I? I'm not a bad person. How did you get this fucking number? Please don't call here, kid.
Well, all I can tell you, dear listeners, is that studies conducted over many years by the JARP indicate that you shouldn't trust random acronyms to give you the truth. JARP is Just a Ride podcast, by the way.
It's important that you know that the president of the JR, but fuck. So now let's do some things that we learned, and since Jeff and I don't learn, we're not interested in that
when
shit.
Shaiden says stuff.
Basically Shaiden is our teacher. Shaiden has more animal related shit because he's either studying space or the ocean.
Yeah,
because
pretty much.
Shaiden doesn't want to live here on this fucking bitted rock with the rest of us.
I just want to know what's coming
I'm gonna
or
swim
what's
or fly.
out there, man.
He wants to swim or fly. He's fucking tired of this fucking standing around shit. All right, let's learn.
So I learned about mantis shrimp.
I didn't even know that was a thing.
Okay, no.
Now, how did you?
Where did you
Why?
stumble? This was a porn search that went awry, wasn't it? You were on Pornhub, and then all of a sudden,
He's like, she's small, but she looks like a mantis.
he
A
started.
shrimp mantis. I wonder
started
if
off-
that's a thing.
He started off with Alexis, Texas, and it ended up with Jacques Cousteau. How internet?
So it for once wasn't porn related, which is shocking, I know. But I actually stumbled across this because I was looking into the way that people perceive color, because I saw this post of like, this is how a colorblind person
Right.
sees this street versus how a person that perceives color, I don't know, normally.
I could fap to that.
I fapped real hard to it. With my right hand, just to spice things up.
Yeah, throw it out.
Shit.
Who are you?
But anyway, so that kind of led to there's animals, like, so people can see colors that are comprised of 3
primary colors.
Yeah, red, green, blue, right? And that every color that we perceive is comprised of those primary colors, right?
Do they add white and black in that for everything and nothing?
I get, yeah.
I just
guess
curious
so.
if they
I
did.
guess so. I mean, it's all about how we're able to perceive
Photoshop does.
light waves, right? Is how that happens in science and shit. But so the mantis shrimp, there are animals that can see more colors than that. So there apparently are more colors than that, which is wild. Which I guess we know because we have
only see a
machines.
percentage
We have
of the
machines that
spectrum,
can
yeah.
detect them, but we can't see them. So how do we know for sure?
Yeah, didn't they come out
You
with a TV that had an added color in there or something?
I don't know.
And it was Zulu. Is that the
Well, they came
Star Trek? He was selling
Sulu?
it. He was,
Oh, Sulu. Yeah.
yeah, he was pushing it.
George
Really?
Takei.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it was like years ago, and I think it flopped. I don't think it did any good.
It's funny.
It's
Imagine
like, why would they add
It's
an
got
extra
an
color if
extra
we can't
color
see
in
it?
there.
I know.
You can't perceive it, but it's there.
Yeah.
It'll make you
Trust
feel.
us.
You'll feel it.
$10,000 extra. Okay.
So people didn't buy into the marketing. That's good. I always thought that was odd.
I don't want to spend 10 grand for an invisible color, I guess.
You have to wear these special glasses that allow you to perceive the extra color.
I did
was
have a 3D television that I bought.
Yeah.
And I didn't have a player or the glasses for it.
I liked 3D
was a nice TV,
TVs. It was a fun fad. I watched some cool 3D movies in people's living rooms. I thought it was cool. But,
That would be cool.
But
That
I think
can't-
it was ahead of its time, or not. Like, it wasn't the complete picture because, like, we want holodecks, right? That's
Yeah.
Inevitably, we want to be in the movie.
You got to invest in the first baby steps. Those are baby steps to the holodecks, and then we gave up. Now we're not getting holodecks.
Well, I don't know, VR.
And Jeff, by the way, holodeck is the thing where
you.
you go in and it's a virtual reality thing that on the Star Trek world.
Unlike everybody, you can't see my face. But what the fuck?
Jeff
are
is
you
like
saying?
holodeck.
I like
I'll holodeck
I like
your
how
face.
It's good that Zach is in this 3-way because I'm just like, fuck you if you don't know what it is. I'm not even paying attention.
This reference is over your head for a reason, and fuck you. It's not over your head; it's under your feet. It's,
Yeah, I tried to
it's
use a
nerdy
Star
shit.
Trek
Yeah.
reference for you guys, and you didn't even notice.
How did we not notice?
You
I
said
don't know.
Zulu, man. I caught it.
I
Come
caught
on.
it too.
You just said Zulu first. You fucked it up. It's not my fault.
I don't know his fucking name. I saw it.
So then he mocks the thing he tried to use. Come on,
Exactly. Come on now,
The
man.
principles behind that.
All right, back to the mantis shrimp.
Mantis shrimp,
fuckers.
teach us. What the fuck are we learning?
So that's how I stumbled upon it, because there are animals that can perceive more color bands,
Okay.
and the mantis shrimp can perceive the most out of any animal that we know of. So we're coming in at three bands of color.
Okay.
The mantis shrimp can see 16 bands of color, including UV light. It can just naturally see ultraviolet light, which we have to have special equipment to be able to perceive, which is pretty rad. But that's not the coolest thing about the mantis shrimp.
I didn't think it would be.
The mantis shrimp is fucking One Punch Man in real life. Like, if you don't know what One Punch Man is, it's an anime that's exactly what it sounds like.
Yes. Go watch both seasons. Great.
The
Great
first
shit.
season especially.
Yes.
But
Oh, God, the
so
last
this
couple episodes of
thing,
that.
this mantis shrimp, it can punch underwater, right? And it punches hard enough to, like, crack clamshells, which is like, okay, whatever. But, like, you try to crack a clamshell. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And this thing's a shrimp. So it clocks in at 50 miles per hour.
In the water.
In the water,
Wow.
which is pretty much the same as a 22 caliber bullet.
Fuck yeah. Boats don't go that fast. do
And
they?
like,
That's fast.
fishermen have caught these things and gotten their fingers broken from handling them because they punched them and broke their bones, kind of shit.
Whoa.
Like, in theory, if it punched you in the right place, it would kill you. Like,
Damn.
if it punched you in the right spot on the temple or some shit,
Yeah.
you'd die.
Or if it kicked you in the dick,
Yeah,
you'd want to die.
If it punched you in the dick, no more dick.
Aye.
You have at least an extra hole.
Yeah, you
How
just got a mangled sausage.
So how big are these cunts?
They're
Like banana?
I'm making hand size thing right now, but
Yeah.
I mean, they range
About the
in
size
size,
of a salad
obviously. Like,
plate?
there's big ones and small ones, but yeah, the bigger ones are like maybe a bit bigger than a softball.
Where
from what
do
I
these
could tell.
cunts live?
In the ocean. I don't know.
Okay, well, I want to stay away from wherever that is. I don't wanna get-
Spokane Mountains.
and the Spokane Ocean.
They're carnivorous though. They eat meat. Like they
So they might
literally
kill
they
you,
literally
punch
punch
you, kill you.
open clamshells and eat the clams inside as part of their diet, which is awesome. But here's a really cool fucking fact about their punch. This was
Saitama.
this was the thing that I was like, oh, that's so metal.
Living a life with 16 colors, going around punching clam all day. That sounds like an
You know
alright
what you
life.
want to be reincarnated as.
Fucking rainbow mantis shrimp.
shrimp.
Let's go. So, do you guys know what cavitation is? I didn't either.
Wait, let me guess, because it sounds like hollowing out something to put your eggs in it.
Okay. Absolutely not, but that
Okay.
was a great guess. It does have to do with hollowing out of a thing.
Okay.
So, cavitation is what happens when you create space in water very quickly, and then water has to crash back in at an equivalent rate to fill that space back up.
Okay.
Right? So what happens when these fucking mantis shrimp punch underwater, they create a bubble at such velocity that it generates heat and light that is the equivalence of the sun, like a tiny little sun, but it's the same amount of heat that the sun is. So when they punch so hard it creates light.
Wow.
And as the bubble is collapsing back in on itself.
Fucking, that's a superhero shrimp.
Seriously, dude, it's
That's a
fucking, it's a
superpower.
fucking like Superman. Just move.
That's insane.
Isn't that wild?
I just want to throw this out there. I watched One Punch Man last night.
Did you?
I was watching it last night.
Good.
I don't know what is that?
One Punch Man. Oh, I get to talk about One
Yeah,
Punch Man?
if you do a bazillion push-ups every day.
I do 100 push-ups. It's an anime from Japan. It is. I don't really like anime that much, but I love this show. It's kind of taken the piss out of superheroes and anime in a sense, but not really. But it's just got a great sense of humor, and it's about a character. Basically, he's bored with being a superhero, even though he always wanted to be
Is
a
this
superhero.
like Adult Swim or?
No, it could be on Adult Swim, but I think it comes from Japan. It's a Netflix
Like TV
original
Tokyo
thing.
or something.
Oh, no, maybe not Netflix, because it's on Hulu.
It's on
and shit, too.
Crunchyroll.
I don't know what I'm talking about half the time. I like the show.
It's probably on Hulu.
But basically, this guy, no matter what happens, and it's One Punch Man punches something and it destroys them in one punch. And it's these big giant monsters and stuff. And the hilarity ensues with that premise because he's just
so vanilla too. Like it's not like they don't make him a badass. Like he's just like this little gangly, bland, bald.
Sometimes
fucking,
he looks badass.
I mean, yeah, fair. But it's
as a guy that's going bald, I'm like I like Saitama.
Outside of when he's one punching things, he's just kind of like,
yeah.
he's like Charlie Brown grew up and got real skinny.
Yeah. And he's got friends that are fun too.
Charlie
where they're
Brown as a Suboxone boy.
Yeah.
Man, we've sent you a lot of nerdy things today. Venus Project, fucking shrimp, fucking mantis shrimp,
shrimp,
One
dude.
Punch Man.
Go look up pictures of the mantis shrimp too. It's up there with shark eggs, man.
Is it?
They're wild looking.
Like,
They're cool.
So
They're wild looking in a badass kind of way. Like if you just see this thing strutting towards you, imagine you're the same size as this thing or smaller, and it's just strutting towards you in the ocean, looking the way that it does. I'm gonna pull up a picture so you guys can fucking see it while I'm talking about this. But it's just strutting up, looking at you,
Like,
and then it punches you into the sun that it created.
Imagine that guy at the bar. Watch out for Willie Bob. He'll create a sun and suck your.
He'll fucking punch you right into it.
That's what happened at the bar last week. Got sucked into a black
Here, boys,
hole.
This is a mantis shrimp.
Punched him into another
cool.
solar system.
Isn't that how wild is that? That's this little fucking sea superhero.
That is awesome.
Oh, I want to see a slow mo of the punch.
Yeah,
Dude, yeah.
Fucking go find it.
We'll have to do that after this.
You're gonna make me work for it.
Yeah, I'm not gonna make everybody sit through it.
He
Like we're
literally
just
had
sitting
it up on his goddamn screen, still showing it to me. All he had to do was push play, and he's like, "Yeah, go find it."
Oh, that
Go
wasn't a fucking video, bro. It's just a picture.
Things I learned.
We'll never know now. You took it off your screen.
Shade doesn't
Yeah.
want you to learn that much more than what he just gave you. You have to learn on your own. Shade's a good teacher.
Homework.
Right, exactly.
There you go.
Homework.
All right. Well, that is the end of the show. We have our navigator for you guys sending stuff in. justaridepod@gmail.com. Just a ride pod.
Just a right pod.
And that's our navigator. That's if you guys have any issues you guys want us to talk about, and then that we send to our group of folk that are listening. So together we will tackle a problem that maybe you don't have
Whatever
somebody
it
to
is.
ask. Yeah. It doesn't have to be a problem. It might just be
Got
a
things
problem.
coming up.
That's a problem. It's about problems.
Hey, how would you deal with this?
Yeah.
Hey, what about this?
Yeah.
I'm gonna piggyback on that too. if you guys have any like shit that you would like to hear us talk about, like if you want to toss us some fucking topics, even if they're not part of your life, fucking do it. Like I think it'd be fun to like do a deep dive episode where we just fucking dive in on one thing and really zero in on it, or fucking, you know, like whatever. Give us some, put your comments in the box.
Yes, in whatever box is in front of you.
And also send us your woes or queries or life situations, and we'll make a glorious mess of trying to make them better, but probably making them worse.
Well, we're going to do our best. We'll do our best.
We'll
not
really
to make
try
it messy.
sincerely. We'll try.
I'm pretty sure
But
that
do we have that ability?
most
We're
of them
messy.
I have probably fucked up or have had a similar situation that I can at least draw from.
Right.
Yeah.
I fucked up a lot too, Jeff.
Yes.
I feel like, let our fuck ups be somewhat of a help to you.
You don't have enough
possible.
time in the world to make all the mistakes. Let us make some of them for you, please.
I fucked up once.
One time. Well, we've already talked about it. It's been addressed. There's no more.
I shit in the bed. Okay. I just,
I fucked up. It wasn't my fault.
Well, based
Although
on
I'm
who
glad
it
you
was,
shit in that
I
bed.
would have done it on purpose.
Yeah. I would have shit on
was
the
it a
pillow
fuck up?
she was sitting on.
In hindsight,
Yeah,
maybe
really,
not.
you fucked up by hiding
not
it and
continuing.
not
Right.
finishing.
having respect
follow
for her.
through. My fuck
the
up was
problem.
not having
Yeah.
follow through.
Get some learn some commitment, would you? Jesus.
Well, this is the part where we end the show.
Okay. Should we do that?
And I usually say things about websites and Patreons and merch
We have all of that.
and info at SKATCAST, but Just a Ride podcast, all those things. But yeah, other than that, this was fun. Thank you guys for coming to the SKATCAST studios and hanging out with us. Thank you guys for hanging out with me, my friends. It's good to see you. Can't believe we've done this 18 straight weeks. That's fucking cool. We figured it out somehow.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm sick of y'all. Get the
So-
fuck out.
Well, I'm headed to the mountains. So
Yeah, I know you are. Yeah.
see you next week.
That means 18 weeks. We're just coming to the end of puberty, and now we're ready to really start
Fucking shit up.
Flower.
kicking ass.
Fucking shit up. Ruining our reputations forever.
We're going to get into our college party phase immediately.
These things will go on the permanent record from now on. All right. Well, thank you guys for listening. We appreciate riding the ride with you. And as always, we'll talk at you in the future.
It'll
seem like the present.
Bye.
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 It's just a ride. Whoa, oh, it's just a ride.
Bing.
I'm just going to burn it all down.